Hello and welcome.
Peace be with you.
You have arrived at the DweeBros podcast for the month of July. Podcast 19.
West Side.
19!
We're legal now.
Yeah. I mean, we were legal.
Oh, dude, yeah, we're extra legal now.
Yeah. When you're 19, you ever heard of, like, when you try to get into, like, girls were trying to get into bars, you've ever heard, like, oh, yeah, don't say you're 18. Or if you're trying to get into an 18-something, you always say, like, you're 19.
Yeah, you always want to go a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I learned that in Neon Demon. Check that out at your local theater. It's still going.
Hey, Neon Demon is a great movie to watch with your parents.
Yeah. Bring Grandma.
Bring Grandma.
She might go, wow.
You know, I think my grandma would love it. Yeah.
It's a real period piece.
Yeah.
What's that supposed to mean?
It's set in the period of now.
Oh, I thought you were. Okay. Yeah,
It's got my favorite line maybe of any movie in the last few years. Your name is Bean?
There's a guy, there's a character that is very, in that movie, that's very, like, full of himself,
Hollywood.
And this girl, main character in the film.
Young girl. She's like 17, 16.
But says she's 19.
But she says she's 19.
Oh.
Yeah. She's there with her little high school sweetheart named Dean. His name's Dean.
His name's Dean. He pulls up and she introduces
they're at a
him,
diner. They're at a diner, and she goes up to
that guy. He's with
boyfriend.
These two women, and he goes, "Yeah, this is my. I want you to introduce you. This is my boyfriend Dean." And he goes, "Bean, your name's Bean," and I think he calls him that again.
It's just like it just is the most weird thing that happened in a movie.
I think you've shown me a video about this.
It's so good.
Yeah,
so,
man. And then
check out Neon Demon.
It's great.
But
PG fun.
If you're not checking out Neon Demon, maybe you want to talk games. Games, baby. That's what we're all about on this channel. Woo!
Video games, yeah.
What games has Jacob Ware been playing?
Oh, I just put my hand up, wasn't it?
Yeah, you put your hand up. I was going to let you speak
Okay.
first.
Man. I feel like it's been forever.
What are you playing?
Since you played it. Get to it. We're dying.
I just want to know. Pokemon, man. A lot of Pokemon.
Bro, Pokemon.
A lot of Pokemon.
I've heard you've gone
You're
off the rails
freak,
on Pokemon from this guy.
So can we talk? Yeah. Can we talk about Jacob Ware tendencies?
I've only seen you play Pokemon.
I walked through your room the other day, and every screen in your room, which is several, had something Pokemon on it. Like,
can you guys
documentary, video game, wiki chart, like.
I want to know, just because I've known you guys for a while now. You know, we've done almost 20 podcasts together. This will be our 20th podcast. When Jacob does something, what does he do?
You just really dive deep into it, and you lose yourself. You kind of lose who you are.
Yeah. You free fall.
I go right in, and I'm talking like, money's not an issue. I'll go in debt for it.
You saw all those Marvel
Did you buy a Pokemon?
Yeah, Marvel. Hey, Marvel. Saw Infinity War. You know what?
You bought every Marvel film.
Hey, you know what's funny? Still have not watched them all.
Dude, I went really fast through like the first 8, and then I don't know what happened. I fell off them hard.
Hey, I feel like you can't watch all of them.
I fell off really hard.
You start doing other things, and you're like, Marvel made a movie? Like, you kind of just forget.
After Infinity War, I was like, I can't wait for Ant-Man, and now I'm like, Ant-Man?
Well, Infinity War's coming out on DVD sooner than later, so I'll probably get that too anyways. But Pokemon has found its way back into my life, and it's probably because of all the hype coming to the Switch.
James. Hey, Pokemon Let's Go.
So Let's Go Pokemon is kind of getting me like, let's go, Pokemon.
They said let's go, and you said okay.
Okay, like here
we're all slaves.
I said this like I don't have a 3DS, so I was like, I'll just emulate it. And then I was like, you know what? I want to be legitimate. So I went back and I went to our local arcade that we did a podcast in. Okay, they had a new 3DS.
Okay.
Pretty good
Shouts
price.
out Arcade Legacy.
Thank you. So I went out and got that. But then I realized I don't have no Pokemon games. Hey, you got to fix that now, Jacob.
And those are not cheap on eBay.
No, I didn't buy them on eBay. I bought them from our local arcade.
Okay. They're still kind of like pricier.
Yeah, they're definitely still every single one of them are over $30.
Yeah, they do not go down.
Yeah, it sucks.
Now, wait, I have a question about that. I see a lot that cartridge-based games have memory issues. Do those have memory issues?
I don't know about the DS ones.
But the
I don't think so.
Advance or Game Boy?
Game Boy Advance, yes, and
Color,
the
I'm sure.
Color and the
Color because they run off the battery. They have the internal battery they run off of, so people just open them up and replace it. But
I feel like with the advanced versions, something was a little bit better about that.
Okay.
So I bought Pokemon X. I bought Alpha Root. No, is it Alpha? Yeah, it's Alpha Sapphire.
Yeah.
And I bought Ultra Sun. Skip Sun altogether because I heard you can play Ultra Sun and be the same thing.
So you bought 3 different generations.
Yeah, but then I realized, you know what? It's not fun. I need Kanto Pokemon. So I went. Josh was like, of course, my little brother led me astray, and he made me go to GameStop for no reason. He said you could only download the old Pokemon games from a GameStop. And I sat there and was like, you know what? That's very Nintendo-like. I believe you.
You can only download the
What?
old Pokemon from
That's
GameStop?
not true. It's not true.
Well, yeah.
He just played me. All right? And we were going to GameStop.
So you went to GameStop
Wait a minute,
and
so
said,
you went to GameStop?
Yeah, right after I bought this stuff.
He just wanted to go to GameStop.
Well, yeah, but I was sitting there and I
Oh
was
my
like...
gosh, you played
When
these
Josh
so
said
hard.
that, I sat there and was like, yeah, Nintendo would do that.
Doesn't it suck that seems like something that they would do?
Yeah, like, I mean,
Yeah.
come on. You're sitting there and you're like, yeah, well, okay, let's go to GameStop. You're probably right.
So what did you expect to do when you went to GameStop?
It was really awkward. I handed him my 3DS. I was like, can you put Blue and Crystal on this? And he's
no.
like, this isn't how it works.
Oh, you came across like an old man.
Yeah, so
Oh my gosh.
he's like, I just give
How
you 2
embarrassing.
codes and you put them in. Can I have the 2 codes, please, sir? And he gave me the 2 codes. They're both not $10 a piece. I got Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Crystal.
Yeah.
So I have everything except for the weird ones, the Sinnoh ones and the black and white ones. Those one was odd. I don't like those 2 generations.
Wait, which 2 gens?
The Sinnoh and is it Unova?
Sinnoh.
Is Sinnoh like Diamond?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I never played
Yeah,
that.
I don't know the areas. I don't know.
Sinnoh.
I played the first 3 generations. That was me.
I think Sinnoh's the 4th one. Unova is the 5th one. Kalos is the 6th one, and then Aloha is the 7th.
So,
Aloha.
which one's your favorite?
I used to think it was Johto. Love me some Johto Pokemon.
I love
That's
Crystal,
silver. That's silver.
Yeah, silver and stuff. But I'm playing through Sapphire right now. Man, that game is phenomenal.
That's a
Pokemon
great game.
are awesome.
Yeah.
It's a tie between Hoenn and Johto.
I
Pokemon.
put like 300 some hours into Pokemon Ruby when I had it as a kid.
Yeah, dude,
I loved that game.
That game, and then I'll talk about it in a second. But so, anyways, I started playing Pokemon Blue. I should have just got Yellow. Blue is terrible.
Blue's terrible?
Blue is terrible.
Why is it terrible?
So I didn't know. I played the first Pokemon game I ever played was Yellow, and it was based off the anime. And so it was like
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't based off the anime, but the textures and stuff like that was. So I don't know if you know this. Pokemon Blue and Red, they had the sprites they had for the Pokemon
Yeah.
were like drawn differently and looked
Really?
different.
Than Yellow?
But when Yellow,
So
Yellow
the anime
changed,
came
yeah,
out
yeah.
after Blue and Red, and then they changed the sprites.
yes, because
okay.
the anime came out and
Because
they
they have Fat Pikachu.
yep, Fat Pikachu.
I remember that actually.
So
that you can only catch in that first forest.
Yep, but then but that's not the only reason. Blue has a thing where you can miss throwing Pokeballs. Like, you can miss Pokemon, and it's like a random thing.
You can miss, like, you throw the Pokemon, it says it
It
missed.
just says it missed.
Says it missed.
So I was
Kind
like,
of like Pokemon Let's Go.
I was like, that's stupid.
They're ahead of their time.
So I ran into Articuno, and I'm like, I should be able to catch Articuno pretty quickly. I went through like 50 Pokeballs until finally they started catching them, like actually getting inside the Pokeball. So then I started throwing Ultra Balls. But by the time I got to throwing Ultra Balls, Articuno killed me. It was just like awful, terrible.
So you don't like Blue.
Well, this is where it blew my mind.
Blew your mind.
Absolutely blew my mind.
Were you seeing red?
The glitches in Pokemon Blue, the first one, they still work.
Yeah.
On the virtual console.
You're telling me. That's awesome.
How?
I think that.
So I sat there and was like, screw this game. I flew to Cinnabar.
Yeah.
I did the Misty No glitch. Multiple rare
Classic
candies.
glitch.
Multiple Master Balls. I rare candy my Pokemon. And I'm like, I'm just going to transfer them over. And they went through the transfer. They went through the Pokemon transfer.
Your house is built on lies.
Hey, I went through, caught all the birds with Master Balls. I went through and I'm going to catch Mewtwo with a Master Ball.
Towards the end of the game, that's what I did too as a kid.
Yeah.
I got
Really?
towards the end of the game and I was like, I learned about that cheat and it was just like, that was a fun way to play it at that point once I beat it.
Yeah.
And stuff, and I was like,
Oh, I beat the game, like, legitimately.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to catch the legendary birds. And I got so sick of just spending money on Pokeballs.
It's maybe the most grindy game. I don't think you actually can't 100% it without the other game. You need the other game to
well,
get
that, and you also need an event to catch Mew. Well, unless you glitch it. And you glitch Mew in. So it's
I forgot how I got Mew as a kid, but I did. I don't know if my friend
it's a
had
glitch.
it or something.
It's a way. I looked it up. It's you do the.
Isn't there someone with a truck involved?
No, that's a legend. That's
I
one of
thought the
rumors.
legend came true.
No, it was
I think the legend was true.
It was a
Back
glitch.
me up in the comments.
Yeah, there's a glitch you can do that if you name your character a certain way, and then do the missing no glitch.
Yeah.
And then you go and encounter a Pokemon, and based on what you put in your name, you get that Pokemon, and you get Mew.
Huh.
Crazy. So, transfer my Pokemon. Now I just started on Alpha Sapphire. I skipped the Johto because I didn't really want to. I wanted to play something new.
Yeah.
And man, did you play through Alpha Sapphire or Omega?
I played
Ruby?
through Omega.
They just built that from the ground up.
Yeah,
And-
I actually never beat Ruby. I
Really?
got to a point. Well, here's the thing with Ruby. I got through to a point and I just quit. For some reason, as a kid,
There's too much water.
Something happened where that game does take like a little dip, from what I remember.
IGN says too much water.
It takes. Is that the one that said that?
That's the one.
It takes a dip, and I kind of just got uninterested. So then I got Omega. I was like, I'm gonna beat it now on 3DS, the remake. And I got to a point, and I'm trying to think. I was like, where did I quit at? Where was it I quit? And I got to the same point, and I felt like this is hard to pick it back up. This is the same point. Like, there's some mountain thing, and I was like, I got the same point.
Oh, you're at
as
Mount
an adult.
Chimney. I just got past that point, and I was like, this point sucks.
Something takes a dip, and it sucks. It's just like, it's not paced well, and that's where I fell out of
One of the
that.
biggest things I remember about Ruby and Sapphire were these like caves with like these codes on them, and they were like these
The Reggie Rocks.
the Reggie Rocks.
Reggie
yeah,
Rocks.
I remember those being like very difficult to figure out what I needed to do.
I was just okay with that.
Do you know that was just Braille?
Yeah, man, I don't think I was up with the Braille back
Yeah,
then.
I didn't know that either, but like I was just watching a video. He's like, yeah, that's Braille.
I will say Omega Ruby
makes sense.
and probably the original Ruby towards the end gets really cool, like what you're doing with at the end of the game.
I think I'm excited because I did the whole Pokebank thing. So I started a game, took the starter, put in the Pokebank, restarted the game, took the starter, put in. So I have all three of the starters in my party. I'm going through the whole game.
Dude,
that was one thing where I felt like that train kind of passed for me when I read about the Pokebank. Like, you have to, if you want certain Pokemon to transfer over to Silver, to transfer over to this, that like you can transfer an original Pokemon all the way to the new generation. Yeah. But in order to do that, you have to have like, at one point for the Game Boy Advance, the DS games, you had to put the Game Boy Advance game in the Game Boy Advance cart, and then
have
you had
the old DS game in
the DS, and then what you had to do was they took the Pokemon. So like, hey, can I just transfer all your Pokemon? No, you had to put all the Pokemon from that Game Boy Advance game, like the Ruby and all that stuff, and they went into, and correct me if I'm wrong, into like a safari park, and then you had to re-catch them.
It was called PayPal or something like that. Not PayPal, Play Park.
Play Park.
And you had to go.
And when I read that, I went, guess I'm.
And it's their Safari Zone, and it's terrible.
Yeah, that
so
sounded like
Pokebank solved all that for me because now I'm like Blue. I set my Pokemon up from Blue, and now I'm
because they're on 3DS.
So now
you can bypass that. Yeah,
I'm gonna go and send them all up through Crystal. I'm gonna keep doing that.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna be happy. But I'm excited to get to X and Y again because X and Y was like really fun. I beat that one, and that's why I got into like playing Pokemon online, like battling.
Yeah.
And I'm also excited because part of me, like I always wanted to build like my favorite team, and back then it was always like I want the 3 Johto starters and the 3 Kanto. That's the best team you can have.
Yeah.
But there's Pokemon like Slowbro. I love using Slowbro. Like he's such a cool Pokemon, and stuff like that kind of like piques my interest. Like Coughing. Who the frick uses Coughing? And
so now you're just going crazy with them?
I'm just catching random Pokemon and training them up, so that way when I do bring them over to the new games, it's going to be a lot more exciting for me.
Will you be able to bring them to Let's Go?
No. Let's Go is just Kanto. Let's Go is completely separate from what
so what do you mean
doing.
new game? You mean like Ultra Sun?
Ultra Sun is like the last,
but it's weird because you can pull Pokemon from Pokemon Go into Let's Go.
Yeah, so
it's almost like Go is becoming its own side.
So this is what's
continuity.
Kind of like I'm feeling towards this whole thing. Because this kind of developed a feeling inside of me.
What's your feeling?
I don't feel like I would ever enjoy Pokemon as a console game.
Uh-huh.
Because I've been playing on the 3DS,
There's something that is cool about like trading and playing online and just going on the go. The game was made
on the go.
So I see. What
I think what Nintendo's doing is cool because they're doing it on the Switch.
Yeah, that's a perfect thing.
It's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah,
it's just going to be really trippy when the new line of Pokemon, like the next generation of Pokemon, comes out next year or 2 years from now.
I think it's next year.
And it's going to be crazy just to be like.
I'm still not convinced they'll go cold turkey on 3DS. I'm not convinced that whatever comes out for Switch, they won't somehow do a different style port to 3DS. We've seen that with some other games where like it's like, hey, if you play it on the Switch, like Dragon Quest, I think one of the Dragon Quests has like some real 3D graphics. It's on PS4, it's on Switch, but you can get it on 3DS and it's like more 2D graphics.
They created,
and with Final Fantasy
Pokebank
15 Pocket Edition
with the next generation on the Switch coming in mind because they're like, if we're going to give them a new game on a new console, and we're going to completely cut for 3DS, we have to give them a way to give them their Pokemon.
Yeah. The
Pokebank solves that.
Yeah.
That for $4.99 a year.
I want to talk about Pokemon Let's Go for a second. Because they came out with a new trailer. I am actually kind of split on that game now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I watched the new trailer. I'm getting it. It's still pre-ordered. But I saw this new trailer and it just seems simple. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It seems like when it was like sprites and stuff is fun and whatever and stuff, but when I have like this huge screen I'm going to be playing it on, like I don't know if you're playing on the Switch too, it just kind of seemed like very basic, like a mix of Pokemon Go simplicity, which is fine on the cell phone, you're out and stuff, but I don't know. Does that make sense?
This to me is kind of like a bridge gap game. And I'm trying to give you another example in a series where they release a game and they're like, hey, this has nothing to do with anything we're doing right now, but here's a game that says Pokemon on it. Mystery Dungeon. Yeah. Remember when those came out?
Well, and it's really an extension of that Puzzle Quest. Is that the one that just came out? Which is literally like that. Let's just get something out on the Switch with Pokemon.
Hey, Pokemon. It's just, I think what they're doing is like,
but it's cool that it's a remake, basically, of Kanto. I think, that's cool.
I think where it's really going to lie is, because you don't battle the wild Pokemon, it's like Pokemon Go where you just throw balls at them and candy.
Yeah.
The battles between you and trainers have to be great.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to re-battle trainers. Because in Pokemon, just battle them again.
Yeah.
Because you will reach a point in Pokemon Go where there's no one left to battle.
I think in Johto, they had a thing
you can't
where
battle the Pokemon.
Pokemon Let's Go, if you run out of trainers in an area, like, you can't battle.
And Sapphire had a really cool thing with, like, they had the phone system. And the trainer would call you and say, hey, let's have a rebattle. I'm on Route 111. And then I think in the Hoenn one...
Oh, I remember that.
They would call you and the gyms would call you. And they're like, hey, and the Pokemon will be upped in levels. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like,
that's legit.
Gives me more to do.
I think I was... there was a lot of people upset that you couldn't battle the Pokemon. And I get that. Like, that just took away some level of it. But it has that Pokemon Go thing of just using the ball. Like,
I think I'm going to be excited because it's, again... It's going to be an upscale of a Kanto game. It's going to be the first time we're going to get something like that other than Fire Red.
I think I'm getting it, but I'm not pre-ordering. Mm-hmm. I'm not as big of a pre-order guy as you guys are.
I'm getting the Pokeball.
If it comes out and it's great or it's even really good, I know I can find it at Target. It'll be okay.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
Honestly, if you wanted to jump on in, you need to go through the 3DS route and then... That way, when the new one comes out on the Switch, you can have
start with Blue and play 18 generations.
Play Yellow. I'm telling you now,
not a chance.
Play Yellow. Couple other things I'm playing on the side. Earlier this month, I started Uncharted 1. That game is super short and super dumb.
Really?
Yeah, I hate it.
You like it? Wow.
Hey, there's never been a worse voice-acted game, scripted game.
Oh, really?
Visually, it's not that good.
Oh, wow.
Are you playing the HD collection?
Yeah, it sucks. It is awful.
I think I liked it better than you did, but that cracks me up.
The shooting's god awful. I get it. Look,
it's very spongy.
It's so bad, dude. And then don't ever pick up an assault rifle.
What were some of the voice acting things that you had issue with?
I don't like that girl's voice.
Elena?
Yeah, Elena. I don't like her voice. Nathan's like...
Well, I don't know that'll get any better because that's just who she is. She's just that character.
Nathan's fine. I think my biggest complaint is the way it's written. The dialogue's super cheesy. I have no idea where the story's going. I'm like chasing after this treasure, I guess. Some people.
That game has a really cool, I think, twist to it. I don't know.
Maybe I'm not there. I'm 70% done with it. Yeah. I looked at it the other day.
Then you should be getting towards
close.
I understand what you're saying of I think when people played that game in like 2006, and then the second one in like 2009, 2008, like that game tackles mid 2000s camp really well. It feels like a mid 2000s well made action movie. It feels like Indiana Jones in 2006.
It was a launch title or near launch.
It feels like Indiana Jones in 2006 or in 2009. And in that way, now 10 years later, and I think that the games get better about this because I like them more and more with each successive one. I like 4 the best and 3 after that and 2. I feel like the closer you get to modern times, the better writing is.
I believe it.
But yeah, I would say I felt like the writing in 1 and 2 were particularly weak. I felt like 2, and we don't need to talk about 2 because you're playing 1, but I feel you on that. I thought 1 was a fun little roller coaster ride. I do agree there's some cool stuff in the last act.
Yeah.
It's not like... I mean, freaking like
it's
Knights of the Old Republic plot.
It's my least favorite of that.
So I don't feel as bad now.
But it's a primer. You need it to get into the other games because it sets stuff up.
I'm working through it. I haven't picked it back up since I started playing Pokemon. Something I have played on the side because Oh,
wait a minute. Real quick, while we can talk about the shooting. You said that the shooting is terrible.
I don't understand why people, and maybe it's back then, they wanted to give it a realistic feel. You have an assault rifle, and they give it, and it's all over in the game. Yeah. Like, that's the number 1 weapon in the whole game. Yeah. I swear it is. Yeah. You can't aim with it. It's like...
The recoil is bad, yeah.
I mean, I got 1 shot on him. And it takes like 90 shots to kill the man. Yeah. Because for some reason...
Spongy, man.
Dude, terrible. So then...
What difficulty are you playing on?
Normal, okay. I think. My least favorite part is the shotgun takes like 2 shots to kill him. And you barely gain shotgun ammo. So I'm playing this game with nothing but a pistol. And the pistol's like 3 shots guaranteed unless you get a headshot. And... yeah, it's just terrible. It's not good action. They definitely went the route of like, hey, we're going to give as much like action as we can with this adventure. Platforming. They tried shoving all this into one genre and they just had not perfected it.
What did you think about platforming in that game?
Very weak. Very weak. Like, Assassin's Creed did it better.
Yeah.
But Assassin's Creed came out.
I cannot wait for you to finish it, and I can't wait to see what you think about the next game.
Yeah. I'm sure it's gotten better. For me, this is what I thought. I'd rather have Jak and Daxter. Like, why didn't you make another Jak and Daxter game instead of this?
One of the issues I always had with the platforming in that game, and really their first couple of that one, is how linear it is. Because you feel like, okay, I see the path, like I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. It doesn't feel like exploring. It feels like
I think my issue is the gameplay of the platforming. Like, it's so, like...
static.
And simplistic, and... it's so animated, and like it's so. When I say animated, I mean like stock animated. Like there's only one motion he makes every single time he does something.
Yeah,
and it's
that definitely gets better.
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
I would say 2 is a huge leap forward. Because they changed the game with like doing the facial animation at the same time as they're doing like.
I'm excited. I think the funniest part, if you haven't played Uncharted right now, I think it's your fault.
Yeah, I think you're safe.
Yeah. They killed that old man so quickly. I can't remember his name. But I was sitting there, I was like, this man's going to play a huge part in this game. Oh, he's dead. Holy crap, that happened so quickly. Like, I was really sitting there thinking, like, oh, we're running away from this girl. He's going to betray me in the final act. Nah, he's dead. Like, seriously? Wow. That's crazy. So I was sitting there, it was just really funny to see that, like, really happen. Again, I think it plays on the writing, like, they made a character seem significant.
Well, I will say this, though, in fairness to the game, when you watch an action movie, you sit down for 2 hours and you watch it beginning to the end, and you weigh the whole experience. This is an action movie stretch across 6-7 hours, 8 hours. I think you should finish it and then make some calls as far as the story or what they... Now, if you don't like the script itself or the way the character's written... that's, you can get a taste of that. But as far as the story and what happens or what doesn't happen, you should finish out the game. I think you'll.
I'm close. I'm like 70% done. So.
And I watched. I think Giant Bomb did this really cool thing, where they sat down with somebody that worked on the game, programmed the game, for an hour, and they played it and talked about it, and I loved this.
Dude, I wish we had the resources for something like that. Honestly, if we had money and
start lived in an area where we
could, I would love to bring in developers. That's awesome.
He sat down with them and he talked about see how we enter this area and there's this big ship? That was impossible. So for that, the game is impressive for its time. Yeah. A launch title. It's unbelievable.
On the scale that it was.
When you think about
at that time,
1 year before that, we had what was 2005, like San Andreas.
Jack and Dexter.
Hey,
Stuff like that.
you know, did not look good either.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that. I think I thought Uncharted 1 Remastered looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I honestly did. Like, notice when he gets in the water, like, his pants get wet up until the line where it touches the water. There's a lot of polish.
So there's a lot of stuff. It was really cool watching. I'm like, yeah, this right here, yeah, this went down to like 2 frames per second when we tried to do this.
I just think
so we had to like fix it.
I think the most awkward years in gaming was the first transition from second gen of 3D gaming to third gen of 3D gaming. That first 2 years, because
you mean
like
PS2
to PS3, Xbox 360. Because those first 2 years, when you think about like everything was so rounded and clean.
Yeah.
Like they were like, hey, we need to show off that we're no longer creating these 3D jagged polygons. Instead, we can fully render this crazy. Like,
it was the HD era.
Yeah, it was like, oh, look at this. And so now, like, what's cool is, like, all these years later, now we're like, hey, we're going to make this as lifelike as we can now, which is awesome. But, man, like...
Animation had to go a long way.
Yes, dude. And it's just funny because, like I said, like, our expectations has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I can play 3D games that look like that. Because it bugs me that much.
Yeah. Uncharted 1 specifically.
Yeah. Like,
that is, man, there's a lot of games.
Dude.
You are cut off from a... Don't ever play The Witcher 1, man.
Well, like, we started... What was I playing? KOTOR.
Yeah.
And I was like, this game's great. Like, I heard so many great things. And I started playing. I'm like, I just can't get over how bad the graphics are.
Yeah, if you think Uncharted fucking remastered looks bad, don't even mess with KOTOR. It's not going to be your thing.
And it's maybe because I'm just like...
Your graphics hoe, dude.
It's either.
It's funny you say this and then you pick up Pokemon Blue.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think again
with 2D, do you have different standards?
I think 2D and like the 8-bit and the 16-bit era, that was an era. I get it. N64 PlayStation 1 was kind of revolutionary, but then my expectations just instantly jumped because I've experienced.
I think that is the worst age.
I agree.
The worst age.
I agree.
100%.
Oh, I mean,
it is muddy.
PlayStation, ugly, muddy, disgusting.
The only thing I think is charming from that era is like Final Fantasy VII's little goofy polygon thing. That's the only thing I guess stands out.
I didn't experience PlayStation 1 as much as you guys did.
Yeah.
I experienced
N64.
N64.
Had one. I had N64.
Yeah, N64
that era,
experience, and that for me, they did it so like to me revolutionary that I was just my mind was blowing.
Yeah, that's my favorite gen. Probably.
Yeah, N64 was. That was PlayStation 1 and 64. That stuff was crazy. PS2 was such a huge jump, but when you're like, "Hey, we're gonna give you HD and like all that stuff," and then I go back to play it again, it's just like, man,
you're spoiled, dude.
Man.
Yeah, I'm spoiled. 4K has ruined my life.
Man.
The only other game I've been playing, which it's been in and out because it went on sale, was FIFA 18, and EA
Soccer
sucks, but.
Building up that ultimate team.
Yeah, I'm not even playing that. I'm playing
They
career
got
mode.
their hands deep in your wallet.
No, they got $20 for me on this one.
Nice.
That's not too bad.
What are you playing that on?
PlayStation 4. I actually got. Oh, actually no, they've gotten $40 from me. It went on sale on PC one time,
and
I bought it. Wow, I suck. Now that I'm thinking about it. Again, guys, whenever I want something, I just jump in heads first. I don't ever think about.
And then you come out like three months later, like
Civilization.
Where's time gone?
Hey, so when Civilization happened,
where's time gone?
Yeah.
I left my room like I've never seen sunlight. Like I'm like, what did I just experience?
You know they made a Civ 6, right?
I heard we have to give it a couple of years before we can play it.
All right, so speaking of graphics and stuff, I have played. Well, I beat it finally. I beat it in June or
Call
something.
of Duty.
The God of War.
Oh, that's
The God of War.
The God of War. I think that's the
Nice.
official title, definitely.
Is that like the Gear of War?
The Gear of War. The God of War. I had a fun time with it. That has some of the best set pieces in gaming ever. Some of the things that, like, these giant beings, these giant, like, creatures that you see, unbelievable. Like, it's awesome.
You played on your Pro, too?
And I played on the Pro.
Oh.
4K. That's the only way to play it. And they, it made me think, like, once I got into it and I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And I was just like, wait, I bet all the God of Wars are like this to a point. Like these big creatures coming in and these big boss battles. I was like, I feel like I'm just now experiencing something people did in 2005.
Yeah.
But
I think people were worried when they first showed this one that they were like, how is that stuff going to work in the new gameplay?
Yeah.
And it sounds like it did.
Mm-hmm.
I never got that far. I only got a few hours.
Did you play any more past when we last spoke? Okay.
No, as you'll hear soon.
I just told me sucked the other day.
I got off on a lot of other things recently.
Then I won't say something else.
Witcher ruined his life.
I basically got to where there's like a lake and you find like a statue of Thor and then you unlock like a pathway over the water. So like maybe 4 hours.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Early.
Really handcuffing us here, bud.
I will say one thing about this game. There was one thing that opened up pretty late, or some like feature something. Jacob might not know what I'm talking about, and I was just like, man, cool, but man, I wish that would have been open to me a little bit sooner. A little bit sooner would have been cool to have.
You're like.
Is it like is it like a gameplay?
Yes, it's a gameplay thing. Yeah,
and it's like,
and I was like, once I got it, I was like, that should have maybe been moved up just a tad.
Just a wee bit.
They're trying to get you to play.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a fun time with the game, and
it was definitely enough for me to like. I ain't gonna lie. Up to that point, I was starting to get like, what do you call it, grinded out a little bit, and then when we got to that point, I was sitting there, I was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like, it was like a nice second win.
Yes, it was. It was a good second win for the game.
Do you feel, now that you played it, how do you feel about the controls? Because this is the reason I ask is I actually loaned it out to a couple people.
Yeah.
One person beat it, and he said that was probably one of the worst controlled games I've played.
Interesting.
And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, I just cannot get over the fact that my attack buttons were the two triggers on top. He's like, I just couldn't handle it.
That's not a problem. I think Witcher's like that. I think some other games I feel like the triggers are like
that's
the swinging and stuff. Dark Souls.
But see, some people aren't, like, a lot of people aren't exposed to that. At least maybe my friends.
That's true. But here's where I will talk about that.
What did the other person say?
He loved it. He said, he's like, I wish more fighting games were like that. He's like, my fingers naturally rest there, so it's just quicker for me to react.
My thing with this game was, I would play this game, and then I was super busy these past couple months. And I'd quit for like a couple weeks to a month, and I'd come back, and man, I would just die. I would just keep. I'd have to relearn. Like those controls were kind of difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel the same way about Breath of the Wild. That you kind of have to get used to those D-pads and stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Once you've been away for a while, like, oh frick, I just dropped my freaking weapon. I didn't mean to do that. Why am I?
I just threw Master Sword across the
and it's like crap. Okay,
there's a lot going on.
Yeah, so
every button is used.
I got to the point when I was finishing this game that I was like, I have to like some of my main responsibilities in my life I have to ignore because I have to beat this game quickly. Because if I quit again, it's going to be another 2 months. Controls. So I was just like, you know what? Like, getting married, I had to put off the wedding. I had to call. They were at the altar and say, I do not want to relearn these controls. Please.
Do you remember when I beat this like a couple months ago? I was really like, I still believe it, but I was like, this might be the game of this generation. Yeah. Are you kind of feeling? How you feeling?
I really liked it. I think it's one of the best on PS4. I think it's up there with awesome, exclusive titles for it. Maybe I didn't like it as much as other people did, but I'd give it definitely a rad. It's definitely a rad for me.
Okay.
Really, really good.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I wish you'd play it.
I will.
Before December.
I played 5 hours of it, and when I finish some other things I'm working on, I will play it.
Next thing I played, I went on my honeymoon, and I will just say, I'm going to talk about I didn't go to Hawaii, if that's what you're talking about.
I know, just honeymoon in Hawaii.
But, I brought my Switch on the plane trip there, and...
Like a true businessman.
You naughty man, you.
And I will say, this is like... If you told 6-year-old me, like, hey, you're going to get, like, HD graphics, but you're going to have, like, a portable, like, oh, that's so cool. That would have been my dream thing. Like, I'd dream on the playground.
You, like, open up the tray.
I pulled down the tray. I put the stand there. I took the sticks off, and I was just smiling, and Chelsea would look over and just was like, you're such a dork.
And you're like...
But I was sitting back... Nobody thought anything of it.
I was sitting back.
Did you see anyone else with a Switch?
No. Not on the plane. I didn't.
The only thing you didn't have was Skyrim, like that guy
in the commercial. and hitting the lady that sat next to me. But sitting back, that was so awesome.
I'm sorry.
Nick.
As much as we all complain about the hardware itself at times feeling cheap, that is magic, and that works great. So played some Breath of the Wild
3D Zelda
on the plane. I played the DLC. Have not got a chance to play that. Played that.
Beat it?
I have not beat it. I think I'm at the very end. I don't know where I'm at with the DLC. That was not what I was expecting. I knew it's like more story stuff. But they kind of put you on these kind of like... There's actually more like shrines that open up and stuff. And so I'm going through that. That game is one of the best. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like
that makes me feel better. I've been putting it off, that DLC, because I love that game, but I'm almost worried that like I remember it being better than it was. So I haven't started the DLC because I don't want to go back to it and be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Impossible, this game.
Okay, because I loved it, but I just
I definitely.
so what you were saying, it's fantastic.
It's fantastic, and I just love getting back into that world. And it's like I was also playing this because there's new story stuff, there's new cutscenes and stuff, and I just want more. Like I hate that this was all the DLC.
Gotcha.
Like I'm actually
I thought there was going to be more.
After 150 hours or whatever I'm at, it's like, man, I'm still hungry to like keep playing this game and the systems that they built and stuff. It's like, this is so fun.
We'll give it another 5 years.
So I hope they're making something the same engine and just do something like
add another freaking island. Like you
Yeah.
get on a boat, you get on a boat, you go over to a continent that's like a third the size of this one, and it's dense and it's weird, and there's motorcycles and aliens. And
do a Majora's Mask with this type game. I'm waiting for it.
That would be a big thing they could drop.
Yeah,
that'd be huge.
But awesome, still one of my favorite games. And then I played some Detroit Become Human.
Nice.
Just a couple nights ago. Finally opened it up.
Are you playing that with Chelsea or just by yourself?
Yes. So we are playing that together, and we played about an hour, 2 hours the other night. Having a great time. Love that they kept in. So this is the same developer that made Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls and stuff. So in Heavy Rain, and I think Beyond Two Souls is the same way, when you go to pick up something or inspect something and stuff, you use the analog stick. You do like, it says to go like right and then left, to like pick up a can or whatever. And you could like do it, and the animation starts, and then you can let off of it, and he like puts the can down, and then like puts it, and you can just keep doing that, and it's so weird, and you're in front of people, and you're just doing this weird thing. That's in Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
And so me and Chelsea were just making our own fun of like going up and picking something up, and like, so this game is all about like androids, and it has that kind of hokey campiness to it of like the androids are taking the jobs, like everyone's like, there's a prophet, there's the prophet in the game, there's a guy on the street corner like, the end is nigh and the androids are taking our jobs.
Here they come.
And this is evil.
Here come the androids.
I was hoping that would get kind of hokey.
You are
the
demons.
trailers are very like serious.
So there are serious moments in this, and they try to play that melodramatic stuff. I love it. It is just so campy, and we were just cracking up at certain things that were happening in the game.
I really got attached to that game.
Yeah.
Like,
did you play the demo, or have you go up with them?
I beat it all.
Oh, you beat it all. Okay.
I saw multiple everything.
Yeah, there's a
game.
Oh gosh,
Ballpark.
50-ish hours.
50 hours?
No, 15.
No,
there's no way it's 50.
Dude, because you have to go back. There's multiple.
If you want to do multiple,
and you want to go through in every single scenario.
50 hours.
Dude, every single scenario you have to like. You can go back and like. Train.
I don't think this is 50 hours.
Dude, it has to be. It has to be. No, listen. Hey, maybe 50 is hyping it. But nonetheless, maybe 25. Maybe my concept of time's wrong. Yeah, look it up.
He's going to look it up.
Oh, no, look, you're not looking to beat it. You're looking 100% right.
In the meantime,
fact checked.
So this game looks great, playing in 4K. You bounce back and forth between like 3 characters. There's just some really... Is it 50?
11 hours for the main story.
Yeah.
26 to 100%.
Yeah, I said 25, see?
You said 50.
Maybe I'm a slow learner. Alright? Whatever.
Maybe, you know what he's doing? He's picking up stuff and putting it back down.
Yeah, I'm doing that for 10 hours.
For 10 hours. That was 25 of it. But I definitely recommend playing these games with a friend if you can. They're just fun group games. because it's just you can run into some really funny scenarios and choices that you can do.
I love how like two different people can be completely different and stuff like this. I got like emotionally tied to this game. I'm like,
I know, he's like, I remember you told me, like, dude, this game made me feel things. And you're like, the Prophet! The Prophet! Like,
there are definitely serious moments they try to play, but I always feel like they're very melodramatic.
I get very sucked into those, like...
I guess you're a
sucker. You're a big WWE fan, man. You get sucked into the drama, man.
When I play Life is Strange... I'm sitting there, I'm contemplating, like, I need to change my life. Like, in games like that's it's pretty serious. But nonetheless.
I'm getting ready to start that, actually.
The first one?
Yeah, very soon.
Holy crap. Hey, let me know if you need to
The second one's coming out September.
Those games and that game, and I'm learning this, they're all couple games. Like,
yeah, they're great to play.
I'm ready to play that with my...
significant other.
My person.
Yeah.
Those are
definitely
good.
I gave Life is Strange to one of my friends, and he sat there... And his wife doesn't play video games at all.
Yeah.
She likes Crash. Crash Bandicoot's the only thing she likes.
That's the only thing, yeah.
So they sat down, and she's sitting there. She's like, "Hey, can I play this?" And they got the controller. And it's a story. It's a really good story, and it's kind of like a movie, and you get to control it.
Yeah.
It's so funny knowing that with you two. I felt the same way.
It's like you're watching a movie, but you get to control things. It's fun. It's awesome. And going back on Beyond Two Souls, that one's a great. Two-player, because you actually have co-op on that.
Gotcha.
One person gets control of one thing. So me and Chelsea loved that one.
Oh, you know, it's 50 hours long, right?
Yeah. Maybe 60.
Maybe 60.
Picking up stuff.
I can't believe
it. That's all I've been playing lately.
Speaking of couple games, I beat The Witcher 3. I love that game, man.
What's your hour mark on it?
I hit 94 hours.
I hate myself.
Playing. I did main storyline, all the major side quests. I have some side quests still in my queue that are like, go find out, this weird thing going on in this tower.
Go find this ruby.
That kind of thing. But I did all of the ones that had impact on the politics of the world. Yeah. And then I did a decent amount of the contracts. I plan to go back and do everything, because that's a game where the side quests, what you just said, really doesn't happen. Side quests in that game are all great. They're always like fully voice acted, unique story.
That's one of the only games where the side quests are worth doing.
Yeah,
I don't do side quests usually in games ever anymore, because they're all like, get Joey's coffee and take it.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, so Witcher 3, man. I mean, I don't need to tell you. Everybody else will tell you. It's fantastic. Do it. Just kind of thinking back on the whole series, I'd love to do a retrospective of the series sometime. I think that game. Perfectly. The way I always say is The Witcher 1 really makes you feel like you have to be Geralt, because he doesn't have his memory. You have to brew every single potion by hand. You got to go through all these caves. You got to do all the hard work. You feel like a poor Witcher, like in the first game, because that game you have to run everywhere. There's no fast travel. And The Witcher 2, man, it's very action oriented. It's very epic. There's all this cool story stuff. The Witcher 3 strikes a good balance of like doing Witcher contracts, and you feel like you're the Witcher, but it's also very big in scope, and there's a lot of cool story stuff. And I really, really love the story. It was really good.
Tell me this.
Yeah.
I'll give you 30 seconds. All right. Start the clock.
Explain the whole game.
Tell me why a person like me should go out and figure this game out.
I think that this is one of the rare games, if only game, this generation and past generation maybe, last gen, that like you can play it. It's just been so long that I've played a game where like there's certain like the side quest. Every side quest is fun and worth doing. Mm-hmm. They have a twist. They have something you weren't expecting, or they kind of play a character out this way, and you're like, I'm gonna hate this character, and you end up loving that character, and it's a whole different can of worms that opens up. And you can go into quest and like certain things inside of quest that there was one part where I went in and I could have never saw it. And there was something hidden behind a wall and stuff. And it's like, games don't do that ever again.
Yeah.
Like,
it will completely surprise you on a regular basis. I think specifically for you, you love Mass Effect. And I think one of the things you love about Mass Effect is kind of really a deep sci-fi world, but this is a really deep, dark fantasy world. And you've got, same way in Mass Effect, you've got your codex, you can read about the world, you can kind of learn more about the races. Mm-hmm. This game has a lot of that kind of stuff, but it's not like generic fantasy. It's like fairy tale kind of meets fantasy. You get to romance different characters, which I know you always loved in Mass Effect.
Makes you feel special.
Yeah, dude, do this game. There's so many different ways you can kind of do that stuff, and it's fun. And you can just freaking have a freaking ball. Honestly, it has a lot of that old BioWare DNA that was in a game like Mass Effect. And it does that dialogue system. It does that dialogue system and those side quest systems and that choice system a lot better. It is what BioWare should have been doing this gen. Okay, honestly, it's what they should have been doing.
And the world is beautiful. Yeah. It looks great. Came out in 2015. It looks beautiful.
It's so haunting. And maybe I don't realize this because when I was in high school, I was playing Mass Effect and time wasn't relative to me as much as it is now. But when you say hey, I'm looking at maybe putting 70 hours.
It's actually probably for a person that plays like you, because remember, you beat Breath of the Wild in 30 hours. Mm-hmm. I beat it in 120. So you have to
You can beat this in 50, less than 50.
I read if you just do story, 35, 40. Yeah.
But here's the thing.
So think about more, how did you play Assassin's Creed Origins? Because they're very similar games. Sure. They're very similar size. Mm-hmm. So however long that took you, this would probably take you, but I guarantee the story is better in this than it is in Assassin's
Origins
Creed. Guaranteed.
Definitely dropped off at the end.
I think, and this is just one game, again, I think the only one I can recommend maybe ever of do the side quests.
The side
quests are fun.
Well, I mean, and again,
the only reason I pulled myself away from this is because I had 8 other games I need to get through.
Okay.
I've left it installed. I still.
We might have a casual corner coming up. We'll see.
No, I'm playing Pokemon right now. Let's stick to my casual corner.
All right. So what are you? So beat The Witcher 3.
So 2 other games that I beat are 2 puzzle games, and this is the tale of 2 puzzle games because one was really long, but man, rock solid mechanics that they really make clear from the beginning of the game, and then they slowly just. You think you know how to use these mechanics, and then they throw you a twist. Mm-hmm. And then you learn that, and then they throw you a twist. And you just keep learning and learning and growing. And it is a fantastic game. Maybe my favorite game I've played this year. It's kind of hard because The Witcher 3 I played for multiple years. I started that 2 years ago. As far as fresh experience that I've really been playing this year, so that game is the Talos Principle.
Okay.
Holy smokes, man. If you like puzzle games, if you like Portal, or you've maybe ever been interested in puzzle games, first-person puzzle games, I think this is the best one I played. I think this is better than Portal 1. Its puzzles are I've always wondered, could you sustain something like Portal across 25 hours? And this game does, and does it to an awesome degree. It just builds, and it becomes complete.
And is there a story?
Yes, there's an awesome story. So I'll get to that in a second. But it just becomes complete chaos with these puzzles because there's no one crazy gimmick like a Portal machine. The mechanics you get are a box that you set on a switch, a laser beam connectors that you connect, and then you get a fan that'll blow things up. So it's very tactile. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the puzzle solving in Half-Life 1 and 2. If you've ever played those games, how you have to kind of use physics and stuff. It's that kind of puzzle solving with these what seem like basic tools, but they combine them and they place things in certain ways in the puzzle that you're the thing I would normally do, I can't do it. I have to figure this out. And I have never played a puzzle game outside of Breath of the Wild because that's another game where the puzzles were tough, but I never felt like looking it up. I felt like I could figure it out. This was the Breath of the Wild of puzzle games in terms of, man, it just keeps building. It was expertly crafted. The story was really awesome too. So it starts out and you can kind of tell you're a robot, but you don't really know where you are, and you're in these ruins. And there's this god figure that is talking to you from the clouds, and it calls itself Elohim, and it basically says, I need you to go on this journey. So while you're going on this journey, you come across computer consoles that you get into, and you start to get fragments of the world, or what the world used to be, and you start to get different things. You start to piece together this mystery of what are you, what is this all, and it ties in really well with the gameplay of why am I doing these trials? Why is this all happening? And as someone who was a religion philosophy major in college, I love that kind of stuff. This game just really nails that concept of philosophy where when you learn another thing, it makes you question everything else. And then you learn another thing and it makes you question everything else. And it just builds and builds. And that pairs with the puzzle loop really well in a way that, man, I highly recommend the Talos Principle. It's fantastic.
Sounds like my kind of game.
I said I played 2 puzzle games. The second one was Braid. Braid sucks, man. Braid is really a freaking terrible game. Let me talk about the things I hated about this game. The sound effects, dude. Oh my god, these little bunnies hop out and screech at you, and just the jumping and
maybe someone made a mod to fix that.
I just hated this game.
So did you?
And I beat it.
Okay.
I wanted to like this game so badly. Indie Game the movie. I really love that documentary. I saw that Braid was talked about in that as like the quintessential indie game, and I've been on a big indie game kick the past few years. I play a ton of games. This one needs to be left in the past, man. I respect it for what it was. It really helped get this whole thing going where one guy or a couple guys can get their game made and get it out and get it published. That game is very poorly designed because it is the opposite of the Talos Principle. They throw you in. They give you a different mechanic in every world that they don't really explain, but you kind of get what's happening. Mm-hmm. The first world that you go into, the second screen has a puzzle you cannot solve until you go way later and then come back. Okay, the third screen has a puzzle that you can only solve if you do some really weird platforming things that you have to completely trial and error, screw around for an hour to even figure out how to do. And the game just compounds on that to where there were good puzzles in the game that were constructed well and made sense, and it was challenging and it felt tough, but I got it. And there were a lot that were complete freaking bullcrap. And it wasn't like I wasn't smart enough. It was, he tricked you. He placed this switch where you can't really see it on the screen. It's behind some, foliage or whatever. Or he gave you a mechanic that you didn't know existed because you stand on this one platform, and this is the only platform that it puts green dust on you and it makes you not pass time, but that doesn't happen ever again. It has a lot of one-use mechanics and gotcha moments that are extremely unfair and not fulfilling, to where when you find out in a puzzle game, number one, when you figure out what the answer is, you should be able to go through and do it. In this game, I would know what the answer was, and I couldn't do it because it was inconsistent when you bounce off the creatures, if you went high or if you went the normal amount, and it was just... So that's number one. It should be consistent to execute once you know. And number two, man, like there shouldn't be one-off mechanics. Like the mechanics should be... Sorry, I'm ranting. The mechanics should be building on each other in like a flow, and like I'm growing, I'm getting better at this game, and that game did not have it.
You sound like you just really were frustrated.
Yeah, I was extremely frustrated and very disappointed. I'm glad it was just a $5 game that, I played for 4 hours and didn't have to worry about.
You sounded so frustrated to the point where I'm like, I kind of feel bad for you.
Yeah, dude.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, man.
I mean, don't feel bad for me. I played the game. I had my fun or whatever. I think it just made me realize I've really crystallized what I think makes a good puzzle and what I think makes a poor puzzle, and I really did not like Braid.
I liked it.
What year did you play it, though? Not that discounts anything.
2013, maybe?
So, yeah, and that doesn't discount. I just think, like, man, maybe, and it hits everybody differently. Because even there's still people on Steam that are like, this is the best game ever made.
Apparently they're crazy.
I had a fun time. I wouldn't say it's the best game ever, and yeah, I could see the stuff you mentioned. Yeah, definitely. I will say I laughed at the ending because there was an era of, like, indie games that all had this ending of, like, pretentious. Yeah. They all got up their butt, and Braid, I think, is at the top of that.
Oh, what do you mean, like, got up their own butt?
What ending, if you're not saying,
The ending is like, what's reality and what's this? And
so it's kind of like one of those,
it's ambiguous to the point of, man, yourself. you were really,
you suck.
Tooting your own horn this whole time.
And every time before you go into a world, and it happens again at the end, there's levels you can walk into, but there's like a stack of books, and there's like 8 of them. And you walk over the book, and like 3 paragraphs of text that are horribly written pop up, like, I was by the grocery store and the coffee shop. Did she see me? I don't know. And it just goes on and on and on. And then you get to the end. You get to the end, and there's just all this text. Why did she withhold herself from me?
Yeah.
Was it me? Was it her? And it just goes on and on and on. I'm like, I feel like I'm playing a Flash game in middle school. Like, geez. That's why I say I respect the game. I respect Jonathan Blow. I'm excited to play The Witness. This game, man, for me in 2018, it does not do it. It does not do it.
One thing I will say is I wonder if part of that pretentiousness that was going on is that, at the time when these games were made, it was all, like, last gen was very just casual focused.
Yeah.
Like Wii and all that stuff, and tutorials every 2 seconds in these shooter over the third person shooter.
I'm
games.
sure that was part of the appeal. This game bends you over.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you how to solve the puzzle.
Yeah, so I think this was
does.
a swing the pendulum to the other side.
But it misses to me where Dark Souls hits though, because Dark Souls at the end of the day the mechanics are the mechanics, and you will learn them.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
No, you're probably right though. Don't be sorry, dude. We come up on games. Sometimes we love them. Sometimes we hate them. Few other games. So that's the games I beat. Few other games I'm playing right now. Braid's taken up enough of our time.
Your time.
Skyrim. I'm full in on Skyrim. I'm like 40 hours in.
You're also like 7 years late.
If you've ever really been watching this podcast, you know I've picked up Skyrim maybe like 6 times and only make it 5 hours and quit. I'm all in. I'm actually doing it. I've completed several quest lines. I'm really liking the game. It's a good game.
Watching you play it...
It's a cool world. I think I finally got over that hump of it's just a world. The story's stupid. The story is butt. The story and the quest lines are butt. The characters are not memorable at all.
Not at all.
That's how I felt about Oblivion.
But you get down in that dungeon. You're crawling around. You're creeping around. You're smithing your armor. You're it's got a good gameplay loop. So Skyrim
is great.
You always love Skyrim, right?
Yeah, I watched you play it, and it made me realize I really do love that game, and I see why they remake it all the time because the gameplay is so good. It is. It's such a good, nice RPG.
Yeah.
It's casual people can play it. Hardcore people can play it.
Yeah.
And you can get so much out of it. And it just...
Did you say poor people can play it?
Oh, I said hardcore people.
Hardcore.
Poor people can
Rich people can play this. Poor people can now play it. It's on
I
sale.
thought you said... See, I almost said... Never mind.
You like Oblivion better than Skyrim, don't you?
A tad, because of the glitches. And, and I kind of like the more colorful kind of world of Oblivion.
Skyrim
I think
Oblivion is more colorful?
It is.
Yes.
Skyrim is so gray.
Skyrim has some colorful areas, but it's a lot of the snow and a lot of grayness. But,
I'm not big on the Nord setting.
But I do really love Skyrim a lot.
There's a summer mod, right?
And I do...
Really?
do really love... I think the mechanics are like... leaps and bounds better than Oblivion. Like some of the stuff, the system and stuff is a lot better.
My first experience with Oblivion was on the Xbox, and I booted it up. I was too young to understand RPGs. Mm-hmm. I got a dagger I stole, ran away, walked into a cave. I talked to this really old lady, and she killed me. And I was like, what did I do wrong?
Sounds like my Morrowind.
And I got mad.
That sounds like my Morrowind experience.
Oh, maybe it was Morrowind then.
On the original Xbox?
Yeah.
Yep, yeah. That's Morrowind.
Dude, I promise you, I stole a dagger. I ran away because I wanted to go to the people. I walked in the cave. I'm like, oh, this is an old lady, and she's not killing me right now.
That game is hard as nails, dude.
Got done talking to her, she killed me. And I was like...
I still don't understand how anyone ever made it past 5 hours in Morrowind, because I never have. But... So I'm happy about that. I'm pleased with that. So this has kind of been the summer of RPGs between Witcher and Skyrim. So I'm playing that. Been playing more Warframe.
Summer of Luigi.
Warframe, which I think I've cracked the nut. I know what that game is. That game is grind with your friends. That game is grind with your friends.
Sounds X-rated.
And it's not. It's actually not really that hard to grind for things. I'm really enjoying it. It's got fun, real fast ninja. We were playing and one of our friends was like, I feel like Gray Fox from Metal Gear Solid. And that is to a T what that game is. You just bolt around and you shoot with a machine gun. You hit people with swords. And there's all these different suits and you build suits. I finally figured out there's certain bosses that drop suit parts. And every suit, they call them Warframes, has 3 parts you have to have. So you just fight the boss over and over again. So we fought a boss like 4 or 5 times last night and got the 3 parts.
What do you like better, Warframe or Destiny?
That's what...
That's probably not fair because I put probably 100 hours into Destiny 2 and I put 12 into Warframe.
Okay, so we'll check next month.
I think you'd have to let me play some more. They're very different. I think Warframe has a better grind. Warframe has more to get and has more on the horizon of content and things to do.
What has the better story?
Probably Warframe, just because it's not cartoony nonsense. I still think that Destiny 1 has the most underutilized world and lore of any game I've ever played. That has a lot of potential in like the Vex and some of the different things.
I just watched you play a little bit of it, and I just sat there and thought, Destiny came out, and then someone saw Destiny and was like, we can do it better.
Warframe came out for Destiny.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's what it looks like. That's what's crazy is, like, the game looked like to me that someone saw it and they're like, we can do it better.
Yeah.
And made a better game. And
there's definitely dual influencing going there.
And it sounds, so if it came out first, then Destiny saw it and said, we can do this worse.
Here's the thing about Warframe that I think inherently makes it better, and I was talking with my friends about this, is my little brother, we've always been trying to get him to play Destiny with us, but it's like, man, when does he jump in? Like, yeah, the game's $12, but like, the DLC just dropped and it's $40. Or yeah, we can buy the game and the DLC for $20, but there's like another whole DLC coming out this fall that's like $60 plus another $60 for another year of content. And what I love is it was as simple as, hey, I was telling my brother, hey, we're going to play Warframe tonight. Make an account and download it, and then you just play with us. Like, the updates are free. Mm-hmm. There are updates. There's like 8 expansions out right now, and they're all stacked on each other. And they just announced a new one, like an open cyberpunk world and like a ship battling system. And it is the craziest game, I was saying, because I'm 12 hours in, and I'm like, I think I know what the gameplay loop is. And then they drop like a whole new thing on me. I'm like, oh, this is... And it's not like this...
Didn't they have like pets and stuff?
Yeah. Or like there's so much in the game, and it's like, let's add this. I love their philosophy. There's a really good documentary about them, and their philosophy is so opposite to Bungie with Destiny, because Bungie's philosophy is, we know what we want to make. We're going to make it. Wait on it. You know what I mean? And we'll charge you what we're going to charge you. And Warframe's philosophy is, we're going to make this thing in like 3 weeks and a month. We're going to ship it. If it glitches, just tell us what's wrong and we'll fix it. Yeah. It's good enough, ship it. Ship it. So they are like the opposite of Bungie, where they're just pushing out things, whether or not they work, whether or not they're great, whether they're okay. And then things that suck, they fix them or they get rid of them, and they just keep the things that are good. And there's like a level of like iterating in that they're striking gold more often than Destiny. Whereas Destiny has no momentum right now, because it's like, we're waiting for September for this update that's going to be a year in the making, and no one even knows if it's going to be good.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas Warframe's like releasing 3 updates in that time. Yeah. So that's Warframe.
So Warframe.
I think it's great. I think you would really enjoy it. It's free. Free is the best price. Even though it's grindy, it's not unfair. If there's something you want, anything I've wanted, I've said, hey, I want to get that weapon. I just play the missions to get the weapon, and I craft it.
You know, it sounds like I might enjoy it, or I can drop $250 and play all the Pokemon games again.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Yeah, tomato.
Yeah. Tomato. It's all the same in the end, right? Give Pikachu a staff, and you got Warframe.
Yeah, it's basically the same.
Yeah. Thundershock.
So this next game, I actually was thinking about this game. I want to talk about it with you.
Oh, really?
Because you've played it before, Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I'm playing it right now.
And I was kind of interested. I was kind of intrigued. I read a book. I forgot the name of the book now.
Blood, Sweat, and Pixels.
Blood, Sweat, and Pixels about this. And it sounds really cool. One guy made it, spent years trying to make this game. It's like Harvest Moon, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I think I want to try this out. But then my next immediate thought, when I was thinking this, I was doing stuff in my garage and like building stuff in my garage, and I went, I'm playing freaking Stardew Valley in my life right now. I don't want to and I thought that thought immediately left my head. Yeah. I was like, I'm doing Stardew Valley.
I think Stardew Valley is the perfect game when you feel like you're in the office too much. You feel like you're inside watching too much TV.
Yeah.
When you're very active, when I've been very active, I haven't had really an interest in playing it.
Yeah.
But when my life is more sedentary and I'm inside a lot, or I work an office job, man, it's great. And it's beyond that too. It's basically, when you were talking about Pokemon earlier, I was going to say, the towns in Pokemon, what I always loved was just like the music, and you're walking through the town and you learn the layout. And this whole game takes place in one like town region area. Yeah. It reminds me of a Game Boy Advance game where like Lego City. I love that game where like you just have this city and there's just Crazy Al who sits in his house and watches TV.
You know what Crazy Al does?
I will say I'm still definitely
Evelyn, who's always in the main part of the town. Yeah. So it's really cool. It is an awesome RPG. They basically drop you in this town. I won't get into all how the setup is, but you get a farm, and it is a piece of crap. You've got a ton of land, but there's just like rocks and trees.
Sounds like my house.
Yeah, it's a complete beater. Like, you don't have anything. And they give you like the basic farm equipment, and they're like, hey, here's some quests. Like, the one quest is like, go meet everybody in the town.
Yeah.
Another quest is like, go check out the rundown like facility, the rundown community center. And you just start getting immersed in this town, and then, like, I found a cave, and I actually found that you go down into the cave, and one of my quests was, like, go to level 5 of the cave. So I killed rocks, and there's little creatures that you fight, and there's, like, a wizard in there who, like, gives you a sword, and so it's, but then, like, I got to level 5, and I found an elevator to go back up, and then the next quest said, go to level 40 of the cave. So there's, like, a roguelite inside of this game, just going down these caves. But you can go fishing, you can, like, I find rocks, and it's like, do I share this with the museum and the guy in town who doesn't have anything in his museum, or do I sell this for money? And but it's not, like, bad or good. Or
Did you play any of the Animal Crossing games?
No, never.
Oh, see.
So
this just makes me think of Animal Crossing.
Yeah, so I hear that a lot. But, yeah, I just think it's charming. It's really cool. I think it's not a game that you just throw yourself into maybe all at once. This game, like I said, it's the main thing I play on my Switch these days. I just kind of pick it up, play for 30, 40 minutes or an hour, and just kind of have some fun and make my way through.
Yeah, I still want to check it out, but I'm playing Stardew House right now.
I recommend highly get it on your Switch whenever you get it.
It'll be Switch.
That is, to me...
There's no way I'll play that
I would never play that on my computer.
Or PC. No way.
Yeah.
No way, Jose.
For no other reason than just it's just not...
Cool.
It's something you want to lay in bed and play.
I want to talk some game news.
No.
Not really game news, but maybe game tea. You know that term, like, talking the tea?
Game talk?
You have the tea.
Oh, games and tea?
Yeah. Let's talk tea. You know that Kermit?
Yeah. Drinking tea.
You know Kermit the meme? Kermit, not the Kermit the Frog, Kermit the meme. This is going to be the Kermit the Meme part of this podcast.
Oh, jeez.
So I was reading a thread.
This is news to me. I don't know what's happening.
You're dropping some bombs.
This guy that worked for Valve he worked on Portal 2, Dota, and some other stuff.
Big man.
Two very different games.
He left Valve, but he worked there. And he put out a 100 thread thing on Twitter. Like, you can just put thing after thing or whatever. So there's 100 different tweets, like, talking about his experience working at Valve.
I'm going to guess it wasn't a lot
because Valve has... he just loved it so much, he talked about it for 100 tweets. Because
Do
Valve...
we know how he departed the company?
I'm not sure about that.
I always ask that with this stuff just because...
Sure.
Man could have been fired.
But Valve does have... And there's been other people throughout the years, but I just thought this was interesting to talk about again, to bring it up again. It has kind of an open structure policy. How they kind of structure the company.
There's no bosses.
There's no bosses. Everybody can work on whatever. You can move. All the desks roll. All the desks roll.
So you can hop from one project to another.
one. So I remember back in high school learning about this. How they structured their business. And I remember like, whoa, that's awesome. And in college, like talking to people like, that's really cool. And I remember people even doing projects on it, like, that's how they do their business. And back then just being so bright-eyed bushy tell about it. Like, and now, like, it was like, when I was at my last job talking with people, I went, what's the last freaking game Valve put out? And it all like kind of like came at the same time for us. We were talking and I was like, wow, that structure sucks. That structure is not working. They're not outputting games at a good point. They're working on like Steam and stuff, but where is like Half-Life 3? Where's all these games? Like,
I'm gonna fight you on this.
Okay.
I'm 100%.
I got my boxing gloves on.
The following matchup is scheduled for one fall.
But go ahead.
But we were all talking and laughing at the same time because it was just like, wow, the output is not there with Valve as it was before, and it all struck us like, oh yeah, this policy sucks. And I think there was at that time somebody came out and said, yeah, this work environment, people will work on one thing, and then one person or one leader that kind of rises up is like, hey, let's work on this thing, and everybody moves their desk over here, and then that's why Half-Life 3's never happened or something like that. Portal 3, whatever, new IP, whatever, and yeah, so this guy basically said, it sounded like a freaking nightmare. You'll have to read it,
I'm going to read it, yeah.
Of that there is, and this is kind of, if you really try to think about, running a business or whatever, this could easily turn into a nightmare. If you think, there's no leaders and there's no bosses and stuff.
Sure.
What he was talking about was, there is a corporate hand in all this, or there's somebody that's, has corporate interest in this, and they kind of behind the scenes like Illuminati run everything, and there is like leaders there's like kind of the cool kids, the clique that kind of like run things, and if you like kind of go against that, you'll find yourself fired. And then like one thing that was crazy that I was like, wow, I didn't even think about this, is they'll hire like bloggers or people that'll come in there and say like will kind of give them good press, like, wow, I went to the Valve Studios and the structure's awesome and it's just such a freeing place there, just to give kind of good press. It's basically propaganda. But then what they'll do is they'll hire that person on to write a couple articles and do all this stuff, and then they'll like let that person go in a couple months. And what that guy was saying was like that people keep coming in and out like revolving door, because those people don't really care that they're getting let go, because that shows great on a resume. You know what I mean? They could be like, hey, I worked with Valve, and those people can go, and now they can step up in the industry. So they don't care that they get fired after a month of working there.
That's terrible.
So the whole thing just sounds like a nightmare, and it just made me think like, when can that end, and we just go back to what everybody else is doing and start putting out a better output of games.
I got a couple things.
All right, boxing gloves on.
It's not necessarily fighting, but I mean,
okay,
there's a few components of this. I think what you're saying is valid. Definitely that can go wrong, like that kind of a setup. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm like for that kind of setup. That's super unorthodox. But two things, really a few things. Number one, yes, that could go really wrong. At the same time, I think that work environment was exactly the same and exactly that same type of environment when they made some of the best games ever made. Like, over 20 years of game development, from Half-Life 1 all the way through Portal 2 and Left 4 Dead 2. So, I think you're going extremes one the other way. Yeah, some people are pissing themselves saying it's the best thing ever. Yeah. And then this guy's on Twitter, obviously he's upset saying it's the worst thing ever and there's Illuminati controlling everything. Yeah. The truth is in the middle. Like, it's got issues, but it's just another way of doing business. I don't think that the problem, is what I'm saying, is the business structure. I don't think that is the inherent reason why games aren't getting made. The inherent reason why Valve is not making games right now, or at least single-player games, is because their core culture, yes, they're all about work on what you want to work on, but in that, and I've seen this in numerous things, and this is why even Gabe said himself, this is why we're not really focused on single-player games, is the thing you're told is, while you're here at Valve, your goal, your only sole goal outside of working on projects, is to find ways to make us more profitable. Yeah. So if you get hired by Valve, what is more profitable? To work on a single-player game that will have a limited number of sales, or to work on one of their multiplayer platforms that has tons of opportunity for revenue growth, or to work on their Steam platform, which has tons of opportunity for revenue growth? And so that is why single-player games are getting made. It's not because people can roll their desks and they leave before the project gets done. It's because there's an inherent culture that is focused on profitability. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but I think that the rolling desk thing and the free-form environment, I don't think that's the villain here. It's not contributing, and it's helping to keep them in where they're at. But I think that the problem is more nuanced. I think it's their goal. They're not failing to make single-player games. They don't want to make single-player games. They're telling their employees from day one, come in here, just like if you work at the, where you work, hey, you need to get sales, you need to get this done, you need to contribute. They've just fully pivoted towards their focus.
Their vision changed.
Their vision has changed. And that's where I get what you're saying, but at the same time, this guy, I think that there have been other people that have been upset, but I have more or less seen over and over again, even people like the writer who left, who worked on Half-Life 3 and then he posted all this stuff, basically saying it's just not the focus of the company. You can't really get enough people to go on this possibly not profitable venture when there's other things you can work on.
I want to jump on that because, maybe they had that structure, that same like open structure during Half-Life 2, Half-Life whatever.
They did for sure for 20 years.
So, thinking on that just now, think how hard it freaking was to start making games last gen and the HD generation, and definitely now, like how big the budgets are. That open structure might have, I think they hit the peak with like
the 2 gens ago. What they could do.
With that open structure. I think they were able to knock out Half-Life stuff, but like now when the team, like to make a game, like how many people you freaking need now on a budget?
Have you ever played Dota 2? That's a super polished game. Like, have you ever dude? They can still make a game.
I think, but I think
I get what you're saying.
But what I'm saying is
they're
like
not making Uncharted.
But what I'm saying is with that open structure and not having like all hands on deck for a game. Like, could they ever make a Witcher 3? There's no freaking way. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of focus, there's no way. There's no way.
But I don't, have they ever even been trying to do that?
So what I'm saying is, I think the output, I'm not saying that they're going to. I'm saying that, like, that the structure probably hit its peak with, like, a Half-Life 2.
I agree.
There's no way they can enter into, like, current gen game development with the structure. And I think
you're right.
And I think even Gabe, there was a recent thing where he came out and said, like, we really envy Nintendo, like, their output of games. And it's like, that's because freaking Nintendo's very extremely focused.
Especially school.
They
run their studios like schools. They make you do homework and everything.
They're laser focused, and it's like, you'll have to change your structure if you want to be in.
I think maybe he envies that. At the same time, I think that they also understand where they stand in the industry. I think that they know they would rather be them than Nintendo because of the freaking ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So when you think about, when you talk about like the expansive projects they have, the amount of people you need for a team, all it is cost has gone up too much.
Yeah.
And then to put resources towards a game.
Sure.
So when you include the idea that, hey, we have to be profitable, what's profitable is I don't need 20 people working on a single player game.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why people don't work on it. And when I've read things about why Half-Life 3 initiatives would start and fail, it's because they'd start with maybe 30 people really excited about an idea. Those people would start trailing off when they felt like, is this really going to get there? Because man, I need to keep paying my bills. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just think I think it's too simple to say it's because of the rolling desks. That's why they haven't made a single player game. I don't think they want to as a whole collective. I think there's people in there that want to, but as a company, if they put their mind to it, these people can do whatever they want. They have all the resources in the world.
Again, I just have to touch. People's expectations of Valve are completely wrong. I think Valve, when they first made all their games, they didn't have the resources and the platforms they had now.
Yeah.
Now that they've struck some gold here, they're just going to keep hitting away at gold.
But what's so funny is, like, they have that, like, Steam being such a cash cow. It's funny because now if they would only change the structure, I think they could make incredible output of games. Because they have the infinite money. They basically have infinite money.
Yeah.
So they could put boom Half-Life 3 this year, boom like Portal 3, boom new IP. They could
maybe Steam's looking to boost their profitability,
so but they're so focused on continuing that profitability. It's like that sucks.
But that's not true though, because even though they're focused on profitability, they still are trying weird experiments. They're trying the Steam Link. Yeah. They're trying the Steam controller. They're doing a lot with VR.
Steam machines.
They're investing a lot in VR. Yeah. So it's not like they're not trying to propel it forward. They're just not trying to propel it forward with individual pieces of game software. Yeah. And I think once they keep saying, you'll hear about Half-Life 3 when we have something to say, I think that they just realize, like, we could make another first-person shooter Half-Life on a 2D screen or whatever. Like, I think that they are just going to wait until a new tech is there to do something really cool with it.
Sure.
So I take it at face value. I don't think that was always the plan, but I think they got to a point and it was kind of one of those things. Steam took off. They were making money other ways. They kind of canceled Half-Life Episode 3, and they were like, we'll come back to this when there's something to come back to. Yeah. And honestly, have games changed that much since Half-Life 2 Episode 2?
Scale-wise, absolutely.
No, I'm talking about if you were making a first-person shooter then, and a first-person single-player shooter now. No, it has not changed that much. Yeah. You could play Half-Life 2 Episode 2 right now.
I feel like Half-Life 3... Half-Life 3 is like a VR or next kind of
they could go over the world, but now that's a different game. Like, if you're going to make a single-player first-person shooter with some physics stuff, like... VR is your way to do that. Like, if they made Half-Life 3 on the PS4 and Xbox One and PC right now, and it was just a normal PC game, it'd be underwhelming. Yeah, it just would. There's nothing they could do. It would just
figure it out. Take all that money and make Half-Life 3 VR. Gabe, I know you're watching.
I'm going to read that Twitter thread though because the Illuminati part of it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Read that because it sounds like hell to work there.
Well, it's just funny.
Just at the end of it,
it's funny that we get to get insight on these game developers, like. And how they run their businesses. Yeah. Because when you think about it, and we were just discussing this a little bit beforehand, dude, they're just wired differently. Yeah. And right now, Valve is just truly wired differently.
Yeah, their whole focus. I mean, when you get to that level of enterprise, that level of service, like to me, I'm amazed
when it happened.
I'm amazed that they've grown as big as they have because they don't have dedicated customer support.
Yeah.
I don't know
People
who's
love
leading
that.
up the customer support.
People love that.
At Steam.
They probably outsource
Hey,
it.
I'm gonna pivot a little bit, but off what you just said about the support thing. I read about because I needed something with like one of my pages I run like on Facebook or whatever, and I was googling stuff of like I needed something changed or I needed something whatever, and I was looking up like how to do it, and some article came up and I was reading it and I went, oh my gosh, this is like such a dystopian thing we're living in with like social media and stuff. But it said like this is basically impossible to do. It was either change my name on one of my accounts or something, whatever. And it said this is almost impossible to do. Or if somebody like still if something happens or whatever, you're trying to get on support on Facebook or Instagram, because they were saying like they have so many users like Facebook and Instagram and stuff that like if you sent the support thing, because there's so many users and they would get so many requests a day, it doesn't make sense for them to answer or help you at all because they have so many users that are growing.
Yeah.
That like out of like billions users that they have, like if you have a problem, they don't freaking care. Yeah. And I read that and I went, that sucks so bad. Yeah. Like you are in hell. We're stuck in this hell of like they are so big that you don't matter.
You're completely.
You are a product and you're a slave.
Hey,
like, that's all that you are. It's like, wow.
Make another one.
Yeah. It was whatever issue I had. I looked it up and I went, oh, I guess that'll never happen. I started laughing.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Imagine.
But I never thought of it that way. I was like, yeah,
the fact that Amazon,
they just don't answer those emails.
The fact that Amazon is able to do what they do today still, it won't last.
Oh, the customer support that they offer? They do offer really good customer support.
It won't last, though. They're getting so big.
Yeah. They were 45% of all e-commerce in America.
That is so big. Yeah.
It's such a big deal. It's so insane, and the fact is, they truly do have the best customer service.
Yeah. I was talking with somebody yesterday and was saying, I was reading how Jeff Bezos is worth $150 billion. Mm-hmm. And I was like, can you just picture that? Like, that's just a number, but like, really think in your head how much 150 billion is. That is such an infinite amount of like money.
Imagine
just think about that. Like think of like 100 million. That's a lot of money to us. Like you know what I mean? But like
one little nugget.
150 billion.
One little nugget.
That is so much money.
Wake up one day.
But enough about money.
No, not enough.
You wanted to talk about some Xbox
stuff.
Speaking
of the devil, wealthy companies, Microsoft. Speaking of the devil. So we talked a lot at E3 about streaming because it was very much
in EA's and Microsoft's.
Uh-huh.
EA, Microsoft, Ubisoft. Ubisoft talked about it.
Ubisoft talked about it as well.
So 3 out of the big 5, or I don't know, I consider 5. I don't really think about Square Enix. Talked about streaming. And I know for us, we kind of have been very nervous about it. And I still have not anxiety, but I still have some nervousness about that because I love having the game on my hard drive, on PC being able to mod it or being able to do whatever I want, and on console, like, it's there. When you stream games, there's latency. When you stream games, there's issues of availability. What if they decide to take it off? That kind of thing. Now, that brings me upon a really interesting interview I watched / listened to with Phil Spencer, and it was on Giant Bomb, but they talk about a ton of different things. It was a really good interview. But they asked him, like, very boldly, like, very bluntly, like, what is going on with this streaming stuff? And this seems kind of scummy.
Yeah.
And, they don't say it seems kind of scummy, but...
They word it.
It seems like they're like, it seems like that we're just going to either, A, stop getting games, like, fighting games and racing games and intense shooters, because you can't stream those, or B, like, that kind of a thing. So what I thought was really interesting about Phil Spencer's kind of comments on it was that it was very, like, kind of open about it. But at the same time, it kind of gave me a different perspective that I've never thought about. And I wanted to kind of introduce it to you guys and see what you think. So the example he used, maybe he didn't use this exact example, but kind of what he was talking about is movies are platform agnostic, right?
Yeah.
Today, they weren't always that way. Like VHS was how you watch movies.
Yeah.
But you can watch a movie on Netflix, and you can watch that on your TV, on your phone, anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's awesome from a business perspective, but from the consumer perspective, you can be someone who maybe would never buy that movie, or maybe would never be into anime, say, but you might see it on Netflix and get exposed to it and start watching it and get into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You are able to buy into things that you never would.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Phil Spencer said was that for a long time, the gaming industry has only really, it's been kind of a gated community where the only way to really play one of these really high budget games was if you invested $300 to $400 in a console, or if you bought a PC that could play it.
Yeah.
And it is still that way today. Like, if you want to play the games, every game that we just talked about, within reason, maybe outside like Stardew Valley, which you could probably play on like a Flash, I don't know. But most of these games, even still, like, if I was really excited about, the Talos Principle, and I thought, man, my stepdad would like that game. He's not really into video games, but he would like that game.
Yeah, how do you get him to play
I cannot get that game to him without him buying a box or me giving him one of my boxes. And what I really liked about Philip Spencer's answer was he said, he kind of said, he's like, I love hardware. He's like, and we have a hardware team that we are passionate about, and they make Xbox One. He's like, they're making the next Xbox. He's like, I'm not laying those people off. He's like, I always see hardware being part of our brand, and I always see a dedicated games platform being part of our brand. He said, but if we want video games to go from being played by hundreds of millions to billions of people, and it not just be things like Candy Crush, we want it to be tangible, real games. Yeah. We want it to break through in the regular mainstream culture. He's like, we have to be less platform specific. We have to find ways to get these games onto phones, onto TVs. And he said, and streaming is the way to do that.
Yeah.
So what he said was, he's like, honestly, not every game is going to work well on streaming. He's like, that's why we're not going to purely streaming or something in 5 years. He's like, we're just going to start to try to bring it out to people. So he brought up the game Hellblade. He's like, that's a game that's very simple. It's not very complicated to play. He's like, it doesn't require super good latency. He's like, you could play that on a phone. He's like, and it has a lot of mental health, things in it. He's like, that's something you could tell your sister about and say, hey, stream this game to your phone and you can use this $20 controller that hooks up to your phone. And he said his vision for streaming is to let down the gates to where you can talk about a game. And it's not like, oh, you don't have a PS4, you have an Xbox, you can't play that game.
You don't have access to it.
Hey, you can stream, if you have Netflix or if you have Microsoft's version of Netflix, you can play that game on any device. And it doesn't matter who you are or if you're typically a hardcore gamer or not. And so he said he wants to keep having hardware. He does not see that going away. And he could be lying. But I just thought that was interesting because I've never thought about streaming from the perspective of sharing games with people who I currently can't share games with.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. Because platform agnostic sounds like, well, what are you going to do about your exclusives? And that is true. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? That was an interesting idea to me as far as it's kind of like future. It's kind of like 20. But he even says, like, we're seeing it with Fortnite. Because people are playing on their phones, on their Switches, on their PS4s. Well, not their PS4s. On their Xboxes, on their PCs, and they're playing together. PS4s. And it's not, hey, I play PS4, or I play Fortnite, but I play it on Xbox, or I play Fortnite. He's like, it's not like I play Minecraft, but only on Xbox. He's like, I play this game. This game is the thing that I play, and it's kind of agnostic as to where you play it. We can play together, or I can tell you about it, and you can check it out too.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just really interesting.
That's a large little nugget.
I like the ideal of that because that has been an issue of like telling people like, man, I played this, and it's like, oh, cool. How do to get them to play it? Yeah, they have to buy something. They have to upgrade their
$400.
They have to upgrade their PC. They can't play it. They have to buy an Xbox, Switch, PlayStation. Here's where my fear is. My brain goes back to 2013. Microsoft gets on stage. Hey, this future of this gen is going to be
Braid.
Games. They're gonna be connected to the cloud. Everything's gonna be cloud. Boom. You're gonna have online, digital. These games are gonna be connected to your account. Blah blah. Here's the problem. And even going back to that, it's like, cool. You're thinking for whatever. I do not trust certain companies with that kind of power. And I'm not the only one that looked at that and went. I mean, it shows now with Microsoft, but they're still reeling from that. So I kind of still feel the same with this. Like, I don't trust Microsoft with this. I would be wary still with Sony and Nintendo because this is just something.
Sony,
but Microsoft in general, I just don't trust with this kind of stuff.
I think the idea that we're trying to get across, and correct me if I'm wrong, they sound like they're just trying to provide a service, They're
trying to make money and they're trying to find new customers. That is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a genuine desire to grow what it means to be a person who plays games. Yeah. Like, gaming is becoming widespread.
Yeah.
But man, it's still, you do not have to buy a $300 box to watch a movie.
Yeah.
You do not have to buy a $300 box to watch a TV show.
Sure, yeah.
You don't have to buy a $300 box to read books.
But I feel like
gaming is one of the only mediums that you have to have a very hefty investment on the front end. And I think that I'm interested to see where they go with it. Because if they can successfully do that and make it to where I can pay for a subscription, I can share it with my family, and I can tell, whoever, hey, check this game out, or tell a friend, check it out, man, that's cool.
Yeah. If they can figure out the input lag, all that stuff, because I've played like on live when that came out and stuff, and that almost kind of worked. But that's the one thing where the movie will just play and it's like local. Games, the only way they can make his vision work is streaming.
Yes.
But the user has to have input, and there has to be like feedback on both ends constantly.
We're in a world where we're trying to find how to move at the speed of light. We're going to figure that latency out.
Yeah. That
latency is going to be figured out in the next 10 years.
I just feel like this is like
for sure.
If they can figure it out, then
think about how far we've come in 10 years. They're going to figure that out.
This is the conversation we'll be having in 4 years, like 5 years.
I'm with you as far as I hope that whenever that's figured out, I still have the ability to have my own box and my own. I like running games off of hardware. But our parents like playing songs off of discs and off of records. Yeah. And you know what? We use Spotify and. Dude, I'm telling you right now, our kids will engage with games much more on that end.
Yeah,
on the streaming end.
Probably.
And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying if ultimately it means more people are playing games, that could be a cool thing.
Music, I've gone that way, but man, when it comes to like games, I own a lot of physical media, and I still want to own like a physical thing.
I just don't want to.
I feel like I'm being pushed out with manuals going away. I don't know, but
I feel like there's just
maybe we're just a bunch of old guys about to die.
Yeah. So the streaming, another chapter in the streaming.
I mean, streaming would bring down a lot of it, like production costs for just the hard physical media as well. Alone would be enough of a cost cutter to be like, man, we can put more money into a game because we don't have to worry about.
Well, it solves distribution.
Yeah, it solves a lot of issues.
But I don't think those savings go to the consumer because the games are still $59.99 digital. You know what I mean?
No, they're a streaming service.
They're a service.
You're paying
for the streaming service.
You're paying $40 a month.
Yeah. It's $10 a month. You wouldn't be paying $40, you'd be paying $10.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on now.
Netflix is still $12 and they have tons of stuff.
Yeah,
it'll be 10.
Movies are different than games, I think.
What cannot happen is I cannot have every publisher having their own frickin' streaming service.
Oh, no, I guarantee you, if I'm telling you...
Because I won't play it.
You're going to run into this issue because you already have it now. PlayStation Now.
But the consumers will reject that.
But
because they reject it with video.
One thing that's kind of weird with this is
they're not rejecting it; it's happening everywhere.
I've moved
on. Consumers are already groaning like, "Dude, I do not want to pay for 8 video services." Yeah, people are starting to pick and choose. People are canceling Netflix. People are canceling Hulu.
But guess what? You cancel it. All right, we're still here, and you'll come back around and get it again. It doesn't matter. It's
here's the thing. Here's the big difference, though, for me. Apple Music, I've jumped on that. That's how I get my music. Sure. I jump in. Oh, I want to check out that album. Oh, I can. I have infinite albums that I can check there.
Labels don't have their own streaming services.
And I consume that media very quickly. I can consume it in the car, an hour drive to a job or whatever. And then, like, movies are the same way. Like, oh, I want to check out that movie, and you sit for an hour or whatever. Games, they're when you pay $20 a month, and it's like some of these games are like 50 hours long. Breath of the Wild's like 100 something if you want to like really discover it.
Sure.
And it's like with Apple Music, I'm listening to like multiple albums a month quickly. You know what I mean?
You're telling me you've never watched a TV show that's 6 seasons long?
Yes, I see
that. So it's the same thing.
But
it's the same exact thing.
But
you watched all 10 seasons of the X-Files. It's
the
same thing.
But I can jump in on a movie. I can jump on that. I get what you're saying about the seasons.
And you can play quick, short games like Braid that are 3 hours long.
But I can jump on an episode, and I watch an episode in like 25 minutes or 30 minutes.
You can play for an hour and save.
Sure.
It's the same thing.
But what I'm saying is, like, if these subscriptions come out and they're $20, $30 a month, whatever, for all these games, it's like...
I don't think...
cost-wise, I couldn't do that. I couldn't justify that. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't. I mean, right now...
Yeah, I can't justify that.
To me, like, the most I could justify is $10, $15 a month.
Yeah.
And because I already buy games. Now, if you weren't buying games at all, if everybody stopped selling games... I don't want that to happen, but if everyone stopped selling games, you could not buy them.
There's no way.
You would probably...
You're going to get all those games.
Get Nintendo's service.
Yeah.
You would probably get Sony service.
But that would be really...
it would suck.
It would really suck.
I
don't really like
the more
that.
we're talking about this, the more I'm like, this is stupid. Let's not do this.
But that's where I think eventually, I think that will all be that's available 20 years from now, 30 years from now.
I
don't think that's coming anytime soon, though.
Sure, Google running down my face.
I think the main thing is that starting out, I think it's going to be more of a split. I think it's just going to be available, but you can also do this.
We already have a PlayStation now.
The other thing Phil Spencer said that I thought was really interesting was since they've been putting... Because now they put their first-party games, like State of Decay, Sea of Thieves, they put them on the streaming service day and date when they launch. And he said that they do internal forecasting for all their games, like what they think it'll sell.
Yeah.
And he said that actually Sea of Thieves and State of Decay both sold way more than they thought they would.
Yeah.
Because they knew they were going to streaming service, so like a lot of people aren't going to buy this. Because they said what was happening was it would come out and everybody all of a sudden had it in their streaming service and were playing it. People saw their friends playing it and were buying it.
Yeah.
So he's like, honestly, like, people laughed at us when we said we were going to do that because they're like, no one's going to buy your game. He's like, actually, our sales were better than what we projected for both of those games.
Yeah.
Because it's free word of mouth. Because you instantly have, I don't know how many subscribers they have. Let's say it's 2 million.
Yeah.
Instantly have, 300,000, 400,000 people playing Sea of Thieves the day it comes out.
Yeah.
Come episode 80 of DweeBros podcast, we'll be talking about this.
I'll have my AR glasses on. We'll have,
Yeah.
stuff floating around the screen, and we'll not own a piece of physical media.
Hey, I'd love to know, because we've been talking about this, about people who watch our show. A lot of you guys, just in talking to you, are like, teenager kind of age. Like,
some younger people.
I'm really curious, like, as people who are young, because now I'm old enough, I've got money, I can buy all the games in the world. When I was 15, I could not. I could buy one game a year. And if you told me then, hey, maybe mom buys a streaming service $10 a month and I can play whatever Xbox releases, I'd have signed up for that. So I'm just curious, like, for maybe some of you guys, like, does streaming sound like something you would prefer? Or is it kind of a mix? Or do you for sure like buying your own games? Because even if I were to think of this when I was younger and I didn't have disposable income, man, it would have been nice. It would have been nice.
Listen, think with your wallet. Think of us, 3 old guys. Don't support this stuff, because we don't like it. Moving on.
We're becoming our parents.
Moving on to, what, I want to leave this world because I'm sick of Microsoft streaming.
You want to go out west.
Stuff. I want to go out west. I want to leave this world. Westworld. The season finale came out. Really freaking love that show. Wow.
This show is super divisive.
All
I hear from you and our other friends is how much they love it, and all I hear in like podcasts and people, they hate it. People hate that
this show.
Took
a turn halfway through this season where it said, you know what? We really like Lost, and we really like just mystery and just going bonkers. And that's what this season did. Loved it. So this season really built up to something that's kind of been really... People have been waiting on with the show, and looking forward to next season, which will probably
can't wait till next season of Walking Dead.
But this show is for people that like shows like Lost or Leftovers that are into that kind of mystery. And this show just really went deeper than what I thought it was going to.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
So I'm having a good time.
You're probably the only one I know right now. My coworker was talking about it because he said his wife makes him watch it. Yeah. And he said he wants to blow his brains out every time they do.
Because he just loves it so much. Wow.
Oh yeah, he loves it. It's just funny. Why are those shows like Lost and stuff like that? I mean, they're just so like split. There's never just like it was an okay show. You know what I mean? It's just like you love it, you hate it, and it's just the style. It's the style of the shows, and it's how they're.
It's what you're into because they really play around with the audience, and it's like if you're into that and going online and reading theories and checking what at like. Even listening to podcasts about it,
see,
and it's another experience on top of that. And Lost was kind of like the one, like that was really the start of it when it came to like going on podcasts and kind of really picking apart stuff like that.
I had a Lost podcast I listen to.
It's just those type of shows. They just pick a crowd and they run with them, and that's it. And then everybody else.
If you're not in the mystery
what
stuff,
happens is you see those crowds forming, and then you watch the show, and then you don't like it, and then you're like immediately like even more. Antagonized. People like this so much that they have a podcast and people get real gross about it.
Yeah.
So I like Westworld, and back on Lost, me and my wife started up watching Lost again. Last time I watched it, I think was like 2012-ish, 2013-ish.
That's a show you can go back to every few
And
years.
I've seen it about 3 times, maybe 3 or 4 times. I've watched the show. Here and there, I missed some episodes, watch them with other people, and like caught certain seasons. But basically, 3 or 4 times I've seen the show. Man, starting again fresh. Man, it's just I'm still tearing up. I'm still tearing up the same episode. She's seen it before.
Okay, so you guys
this is her second time through. So she's like noticing stuff. I'm actually noticing stuff I haven't.
It's like reading.
I forgot about
reading different books and stuff like that.
Semi spoiler for people that have not seen Lost, but I want to talk about this because I thought it was really cool. Something I noticed this time. John Locke, you've seen it, haven't you?
Yes.
We've all went through it. John Locke works at like a box company or whatever, and during one of the transitions, because they do flashbacks in this show, he's working on like kind of a calculator machine, and like the thing that kind of spits out the paper or whatever he's working on makes a certain noise, and being like now that I'm like listening to like the smoke monster and stuff, it's the same noise the smoke monster makes. At certain times, he makes certain like sound effects or whatever, the smoke monster or whatever, and it's the same sound as like John Locke's thing. And I went, oh my gosh, I had never noticed that before. I don't know if that was intentional or whatever, because there's so many things hidden. Because the smoke monster to me is the past. It's like, you know, things you're holding on to, things you need to move on from in your life that are holding you back.
It's going to get you.
And it's like, what if like John Locke and like that was not a good time in his life, like his boss and stuff kind of sucked. I wonder if that's like, you know what I mean? Like you saw that, but like in the show, in that first season, he's like, I saw it and it's beautiful. But then other people like Boone, I totally forgot about this, like basically sees Shannon die. And John Locke is like, is that what it showed you? And it's like, that's not what I saw. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and people got to see different things, and like he's kind of holding on to Shannon. Interesting stuff.
Yeah,
we could do a whole podcast just on Lost.
I love that show.
But
so
that
much,
is such a
great show.
That's my favorite show of all time. Man.
It's a phenomenal
the community, the characters, and then the way that they interact with one another.
Best actors, like for every single actor I love on there. But
one of a kind show.
But I saw all that stuff. The Toys That Made Us had a second season. Very cool. It just goes into different toys. This season was like Lego, Hello Kitty,
Transformers.
Even if you don't, I don't care about Hello Kitty, but it's cool to like learn the history.
I think I have trouble. I've never watched it. I might need to check it out sometime. It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't interest me because I'm not really a collector.
Sure.
And I don't do a lot of but
toys weren't in my wheelhouse.
But
the history sounds cool.
Because like I said, I'm not in Hello Kitty, but I was kind of want to learn about that. And like Lego, I don't play Lego, but I want to learn about the history of that. And
maybe I could be wrong. I just remember growing up around video games more than toys.
You're not a toys guy?
No.
Well, I was always more. I played a lot with a lot of toys when I was younger. There was a lot of Star Wars toys.
No, never.
Legos.
I played with in my bathtub. That was all I ever did. And I'm like, I have like a little speeder, and like I put Luke Skywalker on it chasing his toys.
We should do like a hangouts with you in the bathtub, like playing
giving me
with
like
toys.
flashbacks to what remains of Edith Finch.
All right, look forward to that.
You can't watch it on YouTube. You have to go to other sites.
It'll be on Pornhub. Check it out. Check it out on there.
Get on the movies, please.
So I went and watched a movie in the theater.
I want to see this so bad.
Won't You Be My Neighbor? Oh, Won't You Be My Neighbor? The Mr. Rogers documentary. Mr. Rogers, for some of our younger fans, maybe they don't know. Mr. Rogers was, went on PBS. It was a kids show. Very wholesome guy. Just very nice guy. Just very, very nice. Very nice. You never hear a bad story from him. You never hear like, Mr. Rogers tripped my kid and he fell. It's always like, he stuck with me and talked with me for 30 minutes and I'm just nobody. And it's just cool stories like that. Just people he would always spend time with and stuff. But what's kind of I want to like a side note on this. Me and Chelsea got a AMC gift card as like a wedding present, and it was $50. Went to AMC to go see this, and us getting the ticket was like $12 or $13 each, and then we got popcorn, and she got a drink, and I got a drink. It spent that whole gift card on one going to the movie. I rarely go to the movies. We go to the movies for like Star Wars and stuff. It is expensive. Like going to the movies is like
once you get snacks, you're dropping almost $100.
Ugh.
So like, if I do go to the movies, I usually don't buy the snacks and stuff. But because I have the gift card, I was like, we'll just do it. And it's like it's like you have 15 cents left on this card, and I went, this is why I never get popcorn and stuff. But I enjoyed it because I didn't pay for it and stuff. Oh, and shouts out on one of the hangouts. I think I'm going to shout out Meister G. I think it was him that gave me this tip to like put a straw in the popcorn.
Yeah, he got that from another.
To like pour the butter in there.
There's a YouTuber named John Campy that talks about that.
Wait, what?
Okay, Meister G, you ripped off John Campy. Remember?
Yeah, I've seen Meister G.
Okay. So,
it's a good tip though. Yeah.
So
really
that tip freaking worked.
Put a straw in the popcorn.
Put the straw in the popcorn, and put the butter in there, and it goes throughout.
It's a great tip.
It goes throughout the whole thing.
Now,
because if you only do butter on the top, it only gets on those top
I've never been to
layers.
one where they give you the butter, like where you can pump it yourself.
The AMC.
That's when you go and
I heard that tip, and
you get the popcorn, and then you put a straw. Like, hey, can you put more butter? And then you slide it on the counter.
Yeah, this one is self pour.
Meister G, the popcorn maestro.
Shouts out Meister G, popcorn trick.
Meister G, our man.
So yeah, once you be my neighbor, I was in tears. Tears were streaming down my face as I watched this video. Like multiple parts, I was like,
that's why I want to see it.
Like choking up.
It's actually that same YouTuber I just mentioned. He put out a video, and he basically he's an interesting YouTuber. He does a lot of movie reviews, but he basically was like, "Hey, I'm gonna put out this video." He's like, "I don't really ever talk about faith." And I didn't know this because I just watch his YouTube reviews sometimes. He's a pretty opinionated guy, but he's interesting.
Yeah.
You would never know that he has any kind of inclination towards faith or anything. And basically, he goes on this rant of just like... you find out, because I didn't know this, like this YouTuber guy, he used to be like really in the church world. And he studied theology and he just was so touched by this movie. He's like, a good movie will change the way you think about things. He's like... a truly one-of-a-kind movie will make you want to be a better person. Yeah. And that's what he said about this movie. He said it just made him want to be so much more like Jesus. Yeah. And that made me really want to watch it.
Yeah, this...
that's awesome.
It's funny because his son during one point says something like... I forgot what it is exactly. It's like... It's kind of hard when your dad's second coming of Christ. And that got a big laugh in the theater. But this was just a good, wholesome movie. There's no, I think
and then he did this.
Yeah, then he did this. There was nothing like that. There was nothing
hey, let's look at a man's life and how he lived it.
It's just like...
so genuine to people.
It's so genuine, and at the very end of the movie, I think even people in the movie asked this, it's like... Man, we don't really have that kind of figure anymore. Yeah. Around, you know what I mean? Like, there's nobody you can kind of point to of like, that guy was just so generous. That woman is... I'm sure there's nice people in the world. There is Mr. Rogers.
They don't have a platform,
but they don't have a platform like he did.
Or if they do, the platforms today are so splintered too. Because maybe there's a YouTuber out there who's great for kids and stuff. Yeah, man, he's one in a sea of a million. Mr. Rogers had PBS lockdown. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I feel like we're the Mr. Rogers. We need more subscribers. If only people knew how awesome I was, how nice I was to Microsoft and people like that.
Yeah, earlier when I said people were pissing themselves. No, that's the other thing, and I gotta watch this movie, but
I was in tears, I was just wiping tears. There, I
heard just some of the things he took a stand for, or some of the, not even that, maybe just some of the. I mean, in 1950s or 1960s America, if you're a Methodist minister, you had every reason. Whatever. Presbyterian. Okay, mainline evangelical, you got plenty of reasons to not be great to black people. Yeah. You know, it's very convenient to not be great to gays. It's very convenient. And, just from what I hear in this movie, he just, man, he loves people. Yeah. And he's so genuine. So, awesome movie. I think I am, I think I could be the new Mr. Rogers, honestly. I think that's it for me. So, I want to watch that. I watched 2 movies recently. One movie I've seen before. This is Tale of Two Movies. End of Evangelion. I have a buddy who I recommended the show Neon Genesis Evangelion. If you've never seen it, it's an anime. It was made in the 90s. Yep. And it ran for 1 season. It was 26 episodes. Really 24 and then a
very influential.
A couple sketches there at the end. It's a really interesting show about these kids who are fighting these aliens. You don't really know what they are, but they're in these big machines, and then it kind of takes some interesting turns. And then basically the show ended, and there was like not a lot of resolution. You didn't know what would happen, so they made a movie of it. And I went back and watched this movie again. And
so this is your like second viewing?
Yeah, this is my second viewing, and I hadn't seen the show in a long time. That movie is so cool, dude.
It is.
It is.
Like, was it the one that
it is so...
No.
It is so intense, and something I didn't realize now that I've taken some time away and watched it, it's like split in half.
Actually, I think it was.
It's the weirdest movie because there's credits in the middle of the movie, and the first half is like balls to the walls action, and the second half is like deconstruct your mind, like
Metal Gear. Start with
Metal Gear Solid,
Metal Gear,
Metal Gear Solid 2, like blow your mind stuff. So. I don't know. I don't really want to just talk a lot about it, but because I can't if you've never seen it. And if you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
I've never seen Evangelion.
Here's my endorsement. Man, find it. I don't know if it's on the best way to watch it. If you're into anime, or even if you're not, like it's not really a traditional anime, check out Evangelion. My buddy also is not big into anime, and he watched the whole series in the movie and loved it.
Okay.
Second movie that I watched, and I just watched this the other night with my girlfriend and then another couple, was a movie called The Witch.
The Witch.
The Witch. So this movie came out in 2015.
It's a precursor to The Witcher.
Interesting you say that. It is...
The side quest in it.
Horror? I would say it's a horror movie.
It's a horror?
Horror movie.
Oh.
It's definitely unsettling. Very unsettling. I would say it's more horror in the vein of The Shining than it's scarier. I think it's scarier than The Shining, but it's more in that vein than like, I don't know, Emily Rose. I don't know, like one of those movies where like it's just like crap popping, or The Conjuring.
Is there jump scares, or you're just scared?
There are no jump scares. There are a couple like real startling things that happen, but the biggest scares in that movie are the most long, drawn out shots, and you see what's happening, and you're just like, I can't handle that this is happening.
Yeah.
It's not gore.
I'm kind of interested in this movie.
So I was gonna say I would recommend it to you. Let me go off what was really spectacular about it. Spectacular cinematography. This movie takes place in, I'll say, 1600s America, New England. So, man, you just really are in that feeling of, and I kind of felt this similar with The Revenant, of just like, man, we are in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Like, man, we have no resource. Like, we have nothing. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing. And so what happens in this movie early on, it's a family, and just very early on, they are, in a situation where... man, they have no recourse. Like, they got to live off the land. They got to make this work. Yeah. And, man, they get your attention right away. Something happens in the first 10 minutes of this movie. It's brutal in a way that, like, you would see in, like, The Witcher 3. And it's funny that you mentioned The Witcher just because there are things in this movie that are very kind of Scandinavian almost in the way that they're presented. Like, I won't say creature, I won't say person, I won't say things, but it reminded me of like The Witcher, the way it deals with like folk tales. And when the movie first starts, it says this is based on several New England folk tales, and it reminded me of how The Witcher was kind of folk tale-y. This isn't funny though, like The Witcher is, or this isn't like, this is a dark but interesting movie. The setting, because it's 1600s America, they are extremely I don't know if it's they're Anglican. They're kind of they're very Church of England, like very religious. This family's Puritans, exactly. Man, that religion degree going to use. They are very religious,
really taking advantage,
and they just the way what happens and the way they try to deal with it, and then the outcome of it all. I just found it very enthralling and very interesting. So, I highly recommend The Witch.
Cool.
If you
The Witch and The Witcher.
If you don't do well with
psychological hauntings.
It's not even that, man. If you just can't watch like long drawn out shots, or you know what I mean, like you might have trouble with
spine like getting ripped out and you're actually watching.
No, nothing like that.
Okay, well, I mean, give me an example.
I can't. I don't want to get into it. This is not a gore fest. There is blood and stuff, but this is not a gore fest. It's just like a really just disturbing but interesting kind of thing.
Is it the type of movie? And we're almost done. I just want to make sure I understand that when you leave, you're kind of like you're fricked up for the next couple days.
No, it's not that kind of movie because at least for me, there's a fantasy element to it that is like, okay, that's the fantasy element, and then to me, it's more like, man, like it makes you think about family dynamics. It makes you think about the way families and individuals deal with things and the way their religion or different things interpret what's happening, and it just makes you like wonder, like, man, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well. That is our podcast, movies, TV shows, games.
It's always good to be on top
and more. So again, I am Fred Rogers. Oh, wait, no, I'm Dweebo. Sorry, I just kind of came out.
The second coming of Fred Rogers.
The second coming of Fred Rogers. But won't you be our neighbor? Won't you subscribe? Won't you check out our Twitter at DweeboYT? Won't you be our follower? That was in the unreleased season. They showed that director's cut.
Yeah, I really hope we don't get caught.
They did show at the very end. It's pretty cool. He did like a Twitch stream.
Mm-hmm. That was really nice.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Mr. Rogers had a Twitch stream?
Oh, this is so.
I feel like Twitch would be a lot better place.
Oh, look at this. Oh, what? The Witcher? Oh, what are they doing to that woman? Oh, what is going on? I do not like this type of game. He was like in the movie, going back on that, he was like so against like TV and stuff. He hated TV. He was like that's what really got him into TV. He was like, he looked at it and was like, this sucks. I'm gonna make this better. I'm gonna make it better. So
he would have.
So he actually would hate Twitch immensely.
And then he would make his own Twitch.
He would make his own Twitch. That would be awesome. Well, tune in next time. You might see a Fred Rogers level Twitch stream from us with our Hangouts. We're gonna do some more of those. Been doing those on like Thursday at 6:30 Eastern, so check those out.
Good to have back. We need to get a way out going.
We still got to get a way out going.
I feel like that's going to be a good one.
So look forward to this Thursday. You never know what you're going to get. It's a box of chocolates. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we will see you later.
I feel like you can do that better. Like a better.
Everyone do their best Fred Rogers impression. Go.
Well, hold on. I need to.
No, just say it. Just say, "Won't you be my neighbor?" to the camera. That's it. That's all we'll do.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Won't you be my neighbor?
I really like you. I like you a lot, just the way you are. And why don't you be my neighbor? Good night. Good night.